afternoon and welcome to once again the Safari Live pre-drive here out in the middle of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, and it's a wonderful scorching day. Louise, what is the temperature, please? Oh, so we're waiting for the temperature. I think only 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 degrees Celsius. If well, you can choose which one you prefer. I can't believe it. It feels like a lot hotter than that. However, there's a nice breeze coming in when we drive, which is actually really refreshing. So we're going to just keep moving. We're going to do sightings. Go to that. No, I'm just teasing. We aren't. Jamie is driving too. She was heading, I think, towards a herd of elephants. We're going to make our way towards the lions, the two male lions that we're this morning. We'll head there. We have got a school drive this afternoon, so we need to try and see if we can get some really cool sightings in for all the kids joining us. And then Brent is walking, which is going to be wonderful. I think he said he was going to try and continue tracking the leopards. Apparently he picked up on a little bit of breakup, but nothing to worry about. So yeah, kudu. We are back again. Now, not kudu, those are impala, but they do. I'm trying to go to golf mode and to run away. There was a young male kudu who does not want to be seen this afternoon. He's now run behind and past the vehicle. I don't think of him. Surrounded by impala, and there were some warthogs. We're back again. It seems as though the gremlin is attacking Jigger this afternoon. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So we're just bumbling around. Those male lions, who I suspect have not moved an inch from where they were found this morning. It's been where the gremlins are. Oh, sorry, Craig. My erosion from the rain, wonderful. So they'll have to come and redo some of these roads. I'll bring in gravel and sand and just resurface them. To see.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a fantastic way to start off our afternoon, and with one of the planet's most fascinating creatures. This is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Good afternoon and welcome on this afternoon's Sunset Safari, where our little baby elephant is having a really thorough bottom scratch. What a special way to start off our afternoon. Is that nice, little one, after your mud wallow? We are coming to you live from a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. I don't want to take attention away from that little baby for too long, but my name is Jamie, and this afternoon Dave is on camera with me, and a very warm welcome to the three schools joining us: Charles W. Morey and East Lawn Elementary and Hampton Oaks. It's lovely to have you on board. And I hope you are all super excited to see this little elephant playing around and having a jolly good scratch. Now, for our regular viewers, please continue to send through your questions using the hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. And let's see, we will be taking your questions as soon as we are done with the three schools that are joining us this afternoon. An elephant is my absolute favorite animal to spend time with, and that's because they're always busy, they're always up to something. Let's try and get a different view of this little one, since it's decided to pop itself right behind the bushes. In fact, I think I'm going to go around the corner and get ahead of where they're going so that they can choose to approach us rather than the other way around. So with elephants, it's always best to let them make the decisions. Makes sense. It's their home, first of all, and second of all, they really are quite a lot larger than me. So it's nice to let them decide whether or not to come up to us, especially with a large female with a small baby. You can imagine that she might feel a bit more protective over her little one. We've got all sorts of exciting things planned for you. We've started off with elephants, which, as I said, one of my absolute favorites. And I know that Taylor's looking for lions, and Brent is looking for leopards on foot. Now, East Lawn, you want to know which part of Africa this safari is in. Now, East Lawn, we're going to stop here and we're just going to wait for them to come to us. We are in a place called South Africa, or country called South Africa, and we are right up in the top northeastern corner of that particular country, so on the border of Mozambique and Zimbabwe up to the north of us, and we are probably in one of the largest protected wilderness areas. Hi, Mum. Look, she's loving the grass. There comes little one behind her. She's going to come right up past us. Which way do you want to go, Mommy? I just want to make sure I'm not in your way. You can see she's been mud bathing, so she's all wet and muddy. Look at her standing on the log. How cool is that? An elephant, despite the fact that it's absolutely massive, can basically travel anywhere on its four legs that you can go on too. And what I mean by that is, unless you had to climb somewhere, an elephant gets there as well. Look at the baby getting over the log. That wasn't very nice of your Mummy, was it? Oh, but you did it. Well done, little boy. Oh, so many obstacles, Mum. Why did you take me through here? Now its little tail's gone all stiff because it's all anxious that it's being left behind. Run, run, run. Run after Mum. And caught up with her. Okay, Elise. That was not the route I was thinking you were going to take. Now, Ileana, you want to know if the baby elephant was born here. Ileana, yes, it was. All of the animals out here are completely 100% wild, and they have been completely 100% wild for decades. In the case of the Kruger National Park, that's 90 years that they have been protected in that area. So this little elephant will have been born here, probably around about just under a year ago, just judging by the size of that elephant. In fact, I'd probably put it at around about 8 or so months. And there's some slightly older, but still youngsters, not fully grown yet. I'm going to shuffle around so that we get a better view of these elephants. In the meantime, there's somebody who would like to say hello to you and tell you his plans.
Welcome to the bushwalk, and we're on some really nice leopard tracks. I found these this morning. They were very, very fresh, and I'm hoping that there are 3 leopards around here. These tracks in front of me are of Isana and his sister, and their tracks are also here. You can see they're already much, much smaller, and it is very exciting tracking big cats on foot. So a big welcome to all our schools. And my name is Brent Leo Smith. I have my very good friend Brian Joubert, and he's got a scary caterpillar thumb. Well, it's busy in a feeding frenzy, I believe. A feeding frenzy. So there's the caterpillar thumb, and we're hoping we're going to find some leopards on foot today. So the tracks head through here and go up. We've got Rexon with us as well, keeping us safe and also helping with the tracking and spotting. So we're going to try to figure out where these leopards have gone. Hopefully they haven't moved off too far from here. It's been a hot day, and we are going to hopefully find them shortly. I do love tracking a leopard on foot. So one of the most important things is to use not only your eyes, but your smell and your ears. And your ears are very good at helping you find animals. So while we try to find some leopards, let's go back to Jamie and those incredible Ellies.
Well, the nice thing about Ellies is that they're just a little bit easier to find than leopards. They're much, much larger and, as you can imagine, stand out just a little bit more. Even the tiny little ones that are not quite head above the grass level just yet. Now, there's some youngsters moving about behind that big female. Now, they are not as young as that tiny baby that was climbing over the log. These are all over 3 years old. This one's probably around about 3. So this might have been her previous calf, and she's now given birth to another one. Brian, you want to know, what do elephants eat? Well, Brian, they eat a variety of different plants, and that can be the leaves of trees, they can eat bark, they can eat grass at the moment, and it is seasonal. So it depends upon whether or not it is our dry season or our wet season. In our dry season, they eat a lot of leaves and a lot of bark. In our wet season, they eat the nice, sweet, soft, tender grasses and marula fruit as well. Elephants love fruit. They love the sweetness of it. Should we see if we can get a bit closer to this female so that maybe we can get a better view of her little baby before she leads it into this thick vegetation? Now, elephants especially love fruit because it's sweet. They like the sugar in it. Just like humans. Look at it, just scratching its ear behind the tree. Carlos, very good question. You want to know if baby animals like this are always afraid without mum. Yes, in the beginning, absolutely they are. And that's just because they don't know yet how to judge what is dangerous and what isn't. So it makes more sense to automatically assume everything is dangerous and then judge their behavior from mum's behavior. And if mum isn't there to tell them how to act, then they don't quite know. And it's better to err on the side of caution. However, to find a baby elephant on its own is almost impossible. Mum is so attached to her little one that she never lets it get too far ahead of her or too far behind her. I'm just going to skip past this little chap. Sorry, boy, can I come through? It's okay. No, now you're blocking me, you silly goose. Are you going to come play with us? Oh, come on then. Come on then. Come on. Off you go. In front you go. Off you go. Evan, we're looking at a young bull elephant, and they're often full of nonsense. And he wanted to come and chase us until he realized that we weren't actually going to be chaseable. Evan, an elephant can live up to, exceptionally, this would be a very old elephant, up to 70 years. Hello, boy. Come say hello. No? Okay. All right, then, off you go. up to 70 years, but usually between sort of 50 to 60 odd years. Now, the reason that an elephant actually dies in the end is it's quite it's a sad thing to think about, but it's actually quite fascinating. Unlike human beings, we only have one set of adult teeth. Elephants go through 6 sets of teeth during their entire lifespan. And by the time they get to the 6th set, they don't have any more to replace it. And you can imagine, an elephant eats for nearly the entire day. And we spoke about what they eat earlier, the fact that they chew on branches and leaves and sticks and bark. You can imagine if you eat that kind of thing the whole day, your teeth are going to start to wear down. Don't use that as an excuse not to eat your vegetables, because it will not fly with your parents. But for an elephant that eats all the time, it does start to have an impact on their teeth. So by the time they get old, I'm sorry, my boy, but you keep standing in funny places. By the time they get old, they will have worn down their final set of teeth, and then they can't chew properly. So they start to get hungrier and hungrier. And if you combine that with the age of the elephant, eventually that is how they die, if they die of natural causes. Can see he's shoveling trunks full of grass into his mouth, absolutely loving it. And hi to Gracie. I hope you are loving these elephants. Gracie, you want to know whether we've ever touched the elephants. We haven't, no. These are completely wild elephants, so we've never touched any of these elephants. If we did, we'd probably be in really big trouble, because they'd get very cross and very frightened that we were doing something like this, because they're wild animals. But Gracie, I have been lucky enough to touch an elephant before. They feel interesting. This elephant that I touched was under an anesthetic because it was being moved from one place to another. Their skin is really, really rough, and also a lot hairier than you think it is, or that you think it should be. It's a very strange feeling. So I have been lucky enough to touch behind an elephant's ear and onto its skin and the thick, thick soles of its feet. You can imagine how thick an animal's foot has to be, the bottom of an animal's foot, to walk around a place with so many thorns. So I have touched an elephant before. Thank you for asking a question, Gracie. Oh, there's all sorts of exciting things out here. I'm going to spend some more time with the elephants because I love seeing them. But Taylor's got another surprise for you.
Hello everybody and welcome. We are sitting with 2 big male lions who I'll tell you about in just a moment. Now, my name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me on this fine sunny day is Craig. Now, we're so happy to have you all here, and a big welcome to the 3 schools that have joined us this afternoon. And how exciting what you've seen with Jamie. Those elephants, those are my favorite animals. But we've got some big cats here. So you probably know them as the king of the jungle, don't you? Let's have another look at them. Now, these 2 big lions are 2 of 4 male lions that live and roam around in this area that we are lucky enough to drive around in every single day. And they go by the name of the Birminghams. Now, the one that's laying upside down with his back to the ground and his nose pointing towards the sky, that is Mfumo. And the other one, his brother, is a male lion called Tinyo. How cool is that? Now, Tinyo, you can see he's got lots and lots of scars on his face. He's very, very battled and bruised, which is quite typical of male lions. And if you look very carefully, we won't actually be able to see it now because he's laying on the wrong side of his face. But if he does sit up, if we're lucky enough to have these boys sit up or even come and have a drink of water, we'll really be able to see how big they are. But you can see where Tinyo will get his name from. Tinyo means tooth, and he had an injury on his lip and cut away quite a bit of the flesh. So sometimes you can see his canine, which is those big sharp teeth. You can see them sometimes, and that's why he gets the name Tinyo. But he's a lovely boy, and it's so typical for them to have lots of scars like this. They fight a lot. Hello, Anthony. Anthony, wondering if this is very dangerous out here? No, not at all. Especially when we're in the cars. We have driven around and interacted with these lions and the elephants and the impala and all the different animals out here in the vehicles. So they are quite used to us now. But not us as people. They're still quite scared of us. So when they see people, most of the time they will run away. But for us, we're very lucky. I am sitting maybe 25 yards, maybe not even that much, maybe less than that. And that's how close I am to these lions. Look at that. Hey, it's amazing. And they don't care. They're just fast asleep. But nothing really bothers especially a big male lion when he's having his afternoon siesta. They sleep for many, many hours a day. So they probably moved around early this morning when it was cooler and now decided to have a nap while it is very, very hot. Alexa, you've asked if the lions are friendly. I don't know. Craig, would you go up and pat one of those lions? Craig says they seem relaxed. They do seem relaxed when you look at them like this, don't they? And you would think, why can't I walk up over to those lions and give them a scratch behind their ears? But you mustn't, because these are wild lions. So like I said, they don't know people. They've never interacted with people, so they've never been touched. They were born in the wild. They hunt for themselves. They have to do everything on their own. So if you are lucky enough to come on a safari in Africa one day, you must remember that all the animals out here are completely wild. So you have to stay in the cars, you have to stay seated, you can't clap your hands or click your fingers or make whistling sounds to try and get their attention. You just have to sit quietly and observe. So you just have to watch them. That's all we are here to do, is to watch these animals and learn from them. So it's nice. Like I like to do is I like to take a notebook out with me, and I've been doing so for the last 5 years. And any interesting behavior that these animals may do, I write it down. So you can learn from these cats. And well, the elephants too. The elephants are the best for animal behavior. But it's hard to sometimes sit and watch lions sleep like this. You might think that it can be a little bit boring, but it's all worth it. Because if you sit here and you be patient, you never know what could come around the corner. You can have some warthogs coming to have a drink here, buffalo, and they'd love to eat one of those animals. So yeah, so even though they're sleeping here, they've actually still got one eye open and both ears listening about. Now, Monica, hello to you. You were wondering how many lions are in this area on safari. It's difficult to say. So we are on a property called the Sabi San Wildtuin. So basically it's a big wilderness area, but we're open up to a very famous area called the Kruger National Park. So essentially these animals have got 8.5 million acres of land to roam around on. So in 8.5 million acres of land, I'm not sure how many lions there would be exactly, but on the private game reserve that we're on at the moment in the Sabi Sands, I would say that there's about maybe 30 different prides or so, and that's including let's say coalitions and prides. So boys form coalitions, so they join up, whereas females form prides, and the females stay together for life and they have all the little cubs, but the males, the coalitions, they come and go, so they don't stay with the females forever. And these boys have just come into this area. They've been here for almost 2 years now, if I'm not mistaken. I think Louise is the lion expert. She loves the Birmingham boys, and she was lucky enough to be here when they first came in. But I think it's about almost 2 years now. They are doing very, very well, but they are still young. Or 18 months. Louise says 18 months. So yeah, I'm not too far off. So still a little bit of way to go. Look at that. Let's see if he's going to do a big stretch for us. Oh, look at those big paws. Now those front paws are massive. They are bigger than the size of my hand. And maybe if we're lucky, we'll find some old lion tracks in some mud, and then I can show you how big their paw prints really are. Because just by looking at them like this, it really doesn't do much justice to how big these boys are. So to give you an example, they're still growing. They're still relatively young. Now, Jordan, good on you, Jordan. You've actually just asked a question that I was about to answer. Jordan, you've asked how old are these male lions? Ooh, so they must be just over 6 years old now, so they're coming into the prime of their life. They've still got a little bit of growing to do. Their manes are starting to darken now. It's getting nice and big. When I first saw them, they were quite scruffy looking lions, but like young teenage boys, it takes a bit of time to grow, and so are they. They're trying to grow their beards now, which is their manes that will protect their throat and all the rest of their vital organs. And you can see it actually goes all the way down, and you can see on this line on the right hand side all the fluff coming off of his elbow as well, which is quite nice. See that? Look at that, he's got hairy elbows. Now they were quite heavy, as I was trying to explain to you how big they are. So to give you an example, these male lions probably weigh, I would say, anywhere between maybe about 450 pounds. So that's quite big, hey? That's bigger than your cat that you have at home. So when they walk past the cars, oh my goodness, it's the most incredible thing you have ever experienced. If you have never been lucky enough to experience a lion walking past you, you've got to put it on your bucket list, because it is the biggest adrenaline rush out there. Now, not only just being in the car with them, but sometimes we're lucky enough when we are tracking, like Brent's doing, walking around on foot, and you come across these amazing cats while you're walking. Can you imagine how exciting that must be? I get so excited just thinking about it. But we try not to always approach the big game on foot. Normally, we try, when we're walking, we're looking at smaller things. And then, as you've seen in the cars, you can get very, very close to the animals. Jaden, you've asked if our lions are as fast as cars. Not quite. Almost, but not quite just that. I have to do a conversion very quickly on my calculator. Let me do this before I tell you, because I don't know what it is in miles. So let's go. Nope, that's the wrong amount. I'll tell you now, Jaden, to put a comma. Here we go. So lions are quite quick, but they can't keep their speed up for very long. It's normally a very, very short distance. So they can reach speeds of almost 70 kilometers an hour. So that's almost like, I'd say, about 110 miles per hour, give or take a little bit. But that's sort of how fast they can run. But the charging speed, now this is amazing. This is the thing that amazes me the most about lions. So if this lion was angry and it got up and it wanted to chase maybe another lion away, or maybe it had seen a buffalo and it was about to chase the buffalo, their charging speed is 22 meters per second. So that is almost, I think it's about 26 yards per second, if I'm not mistaken, give or take a little bit. My conversions are not very good, but it's very, very fast. So can you imagine, before you'd even be able to blink your eyes and open them again, those lions would be standing right next to you going, hello, which can be a little bit intimidating. But I'll tell you a little secret, but you can't tell anyone, is that these big cats are actually big sissies. Can you believe that? Male lions, they make me laugh, because they often get into trouble from the female lions in the pride. And like I said, it's the girls that live in the groups together, and when one girl lion and one boy lion have a fight, the rest of the females in that pride, well, they tag along, and then they'll chase off the boys if they're giving them a hard time, which is really, really funny to watch. So speaking of walking around on foot with big animals, I know that Brent had set out on finding the leopard cubs. So I think it's about time we go back across to him and find out how his life is going.
Well, it's still going. We're still on the tracks. So I showed you some really nice clear tracks earlier, but this is normally what we're dealing with, and sometimes even less than that. So there we go. So that's the back foot here, and the front foot there. You can just make out the back of it. Let me draw it for you with a piece of grass so it makes it a little bit more clear. So here's the back, like that, and then the toes are there. So still on the tracks, and they're heading down towards a waterhole that we know has got a crocodile in it. So we'll have a very careful look as we approach the waterhole. Jordan. Jordan's wondering, do we have lots of leopards in our area? If so, how many? Well, Jordan, we do have quite a few, but in this particular area we're working at the moment, we're checking around. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the tracks. There she is, going this way. There's an adult female called Karula, and she's the dominant female. She's mama to the babies. And there are 2 cubs at the moment, and they're called Hasana and Shongile. And those are the ones we see the most often. And then there's a big male called Tingana. But in this whole area, there's probably over 25 leopards. Now, with these little guys, you've got to be quite careful. You've got to look at all the thickets, because sometimes they'll watch you and you'll walk past right next to them. See if there's any more of her footprints here. So I said, we're not going to get too close to the water here, because I know there's a crocodile here. Let's have a quick look. I'll be able to see if she had a drink. I don't think so. There's a lot of other places to drink at the moment. Now, a crocodile can shoot itself about 5 meters out of the water, so we're not going to go too close. Interesting. So she hasn't come here. I think she might have done this. She's come, she's had a look here, and then she's gone this way. Now, quite often, sometimes the ground's too hard to even see a footprint, so you've got to pretend you're a leopard. You've got to think like a leopard. And if I was a leopard, I would walk up here. Now, there's a dry river just down there, so I think we're going to head there and have a look. Just make sure there's nothing in the trees. Nope. Okay, we're going to keep checking for these leopards. While we do that, let's go back to Jamie and those wonderful elephants.
Lots and lots of eddies this afternoon, all gathered around a termite mound where they're eating the fresh green grass. Here comes a little straggling male. Go on, mister. Catch up with the rest of them. Now, earlier on, we only had a couple of them. Now we've got probably around about 20 or so, possibly even more. Hard to count elephants off the top of your head because they're just so big. It always feels like there's more of them than there actually are. But I would say 20 is a relatively good guess. As to why they all walked in one direction and then all turned around and walked back where they came from, well, I just don't know. Sometimes these animals do strange and peculiar, unexpected things out here, and we don't have an explanation behind their behavior. You could see it using that extraordinary trunk to wrap around the grasses and pull them up, put them in his mouth. Our trunk is amazing. It is strong enough to pull down and break the strongest branches, and it's also delicate enough to pick up a coin from a flat surface using just the tips of it. Isn't that amazing? Perhaps they've decided they're too hot, Dave, and they're going to want to go for another swim. Who knows? Frida, you want to know if elephants have horns. Frida, can I answer that question while we're on the move? Because I think we need to go and get around them and back towards those mud wallows, because I think that's what they're going to try and do. Frida, they don't have horns. A horn is made of bone, like our antelope. Our antelope have horns. Our elephant have tusks. So what an elephant's tusks are is actually a modified tooth. Same as yours, although obviously much, much stronger and made of a substance called ivory, which is essentially what your teeth are made of, just a slightly different design to it. So that's what those tusks are. It's teeth. And it's very interesting that they are able to continue to grow throughout an elephant's lifespan. So their tusks will just grow and grow and grow throughout their lives, and that's they'd have to, because they use them for digging, for grinding up something, for getting bark off the tree, for gouging. So they get worn down, which is why it's so nice that they keep growing so that they can keep their tusks intact. So no, it is not horn, it is ivory or dentine. It's your tooth. It's their modified teeth. Where are you going, you crazy beasts? Okay, I'm just going to take us around and back to where the road curves. Antoine, remember how I told you that an elephant's skin feels somewhat hairy? Yes, they do have hair on them. It's very thick and very coarse, and there's not a lot of it, so it's not like hair on my head where there's lots of it. But they do actually have hair on their heads. This is so interesting. The big female is leading the entire group, and they're all sort of wandering along behind her, unfortunately behind some quite thick trees. And I don't want to startle them by trying to push my way off-road, but I'm hoping they're going to make it towards the other end of this particular section of vegetation. Lucas, you want to know what a predator of an elephant might be. Lucas, the only thing that is big enough to hunt an elephant is a lion, and they'd have to do that only under exceptional circumstances, and there's only certain lions that have actually learned to do it, to hunt down and kill young male elephants. It's very unusual for them to try and go for an elephant calf like the little one we saw, just because the rest of the herd gets so protective. And of course, the other big enemy of elephants is humans. Not us, luckily, and not for these elephants. They are some of the most protected elephants on the planet. We're going to keep up with them and try and get to where they're heading ahead of them. Let's go back to Taylor and find out if she's still with those lions.
We are indeed still with the lions, Jamie. They're not doing much, but I'll tell you what they are doing is they are dreaming. Craig and I have just been laughing our socks off sitting here watching these cats because Tinyo and Mfumo were both doing very strange things with their mouths, and particularly Mfumo. He was sort of moving his mouth around. You can actually see his tongue is sticking out a little bit, and he's pushed it to the front of his mouth. Look at that. Can you see? And his teeth, his tongue, he's pulled his tongue back in. Earlier it was sticking up, but you can see his teeth there, and you'll see he starts moving his mouth around as if he's dreaming that he's eating something. It was very, very, very funny to watch. But now, there we go, he's starting to twitch again. Maybe he'll do it again. I promise you, I have to try and be very quiet because there's another safari vehicle here, and I can't laugh too loudly and spoil their sighting. But I thought that it was very, very funny. And not these dogs, but these cats will dream like your dog dreams. Kick the air and snarl and do all sorts of things like that too. It's really, really funny. So even these big scary lions, they also behave sometimes just like your household pet. Now, Chloe, hello to you. You've asked if the animals will ever try and jump onto the jeeps. No, not really. It depends. If you try and entice them, so if you try and lure them over, they may. But that's why I said to you, it's very, very important that you stay seated when you're in the car and do not stick your hands and your arms out and try and get their attention, because remember, they are wild animals. But otherwise, because we've been interacting with them for such a long time, driving with them, spending time in the sightings, eventually they become so used to the vehicles, like what you see, is that they're quite comfortable to have a big snooze right next to us. So then they're all right. But you know what will jump on your car? And I have to tell you a funny story. It's the monkeys and the baboons. They love to go inside your room. They love to go inside your cars. They will decorate anything they can find. I've had many monkeys, vervet monkeys, which are these grey monkeys, coming inside my room if I've left my window open, and taking my toothpaste and my shampoo and my conditioner and squeezing it everywhere, throwing toilet paper and tissues and eating all sorts of crazy things that they find in your room, and they leave you a big mess. But I'm glad that the lions don't like that. We can have monkeys, but I think the lions would be a little bit of a handful if they had to try and jump on the jeeps or come into our rooms. That would be very, very scary. Luckily, they can't open doors, and let's hope that it stays that way. Moved an inch, really. Hello, Namas. You're wondering what lions feed on, what they eat. They eat anything that they can get their grubby paws onto. So they're not very good at hunting, unfortunately. Even though they can run really quick, they can't keep that speed up for very long. So what they have to do is they have to rely on trying to ambush, so to try and hide quietly and then surprise their prey. So we call that ambush hunting. So lucky for these lions, there's lots of trees, there's lots of grass at the moment, so it's easy for them to try and conceal themselves. So what they'll do is they'll sit and wait for a buffalo. Now these big cats would prefer to eat an African buffalo or a Cape buffalo. And then they like to eat kudu, which is an antelope, zebra, giraffe, you name it. A lion would love to eat it. And sometimes it's not easy for them to catch it. But if it's a big pride of lions, they need to catch something big, because it's not just one or two lions. Normally it's quite a few of them living in the pride, and then of course you've got the big hungry males that join up too. So that will last them a couple of days. So anything. And you'll see with the leopards, and we're lucky, we've been seeing the leopards, the royal family, which is mom and 2 babies, and they are just learning to hunt for themselves. And the same thing goes with the young lions too. We've got 6 cubs that are ranging between 6 and 9 months old now, and they are also learning to hunt. So things like birds, like francolins and guinea fowls and spur fowls, and even squirrels and dwarf mongoose, which is looks like a ferret. Anything along those lines, even hares, when they see them, they get very, very excited, and they'll try and catch those. But that's a bit small for these 2 big lions. Look at his face is all crinkled up. So Fida, now you're wondering if baby lions have sharp teeth. They do indeed. So they get 2 sets of teeth like us. So you get your milk teeth, and so do the lions, and so do the leopards too. And you know, if you've ever had a puppy or a kitten and they bite you when you first get them, those teeth are like needles. And they're exactly the same with the lions. But as soon as they get older, they lose those teeth. But sadly, there's no tooth fairy that comes to collect the lion's teeth, which is a little bit sad for them. But then they get their new big, strong adult teeth coming through. And it's a pity that these boys aren't opening their mouths for us so you could see how big they are. But you never know. It's exhausting being a male lion, so maybe they do a big yawn for us. You've got to look very carefully at their pearly white teeth, and you can see how sharp they are. Antoine, you're wondering if lions eat people? Well, hopefully not. Not out here, unless you get yourself stuck in a silly situation. But you're relatively safe out here, especially if you follow those guidelines that I gave you about being safe in a vehicle with the wild animals. But no, luckily for us, they're not feeding on people. They prefer to catch a buffalo. When they see us as humans, they're actually scared of us. Can you believe that? That a big male lion that weighs almost 450 pounds is scared of a human. If I were to get out of this car and walk up to those lions, I reckon that they would run away from me. I will never do that though, because then they become scared of the cars, and then they don't like us and they're frightened, and then we have to start the whole process again of trying to make them relaxed with the vehicle so we can have these amazing close encounters with these wild animals. So you never ever want to do anything like that. But they're very, very nervous of us. You see, we look a little bit like a predator. We've got our eyes on the front of our heads, and we also stand up quite tall. You see, other than the elephants and the giraffe, we're relatively tall out here in the bush as well. And it seems as though Jamie's in a lot of luck today. These lions are not splashing about in the puddle, but Jamie has got another animal that is.
Splashing about in a puddle. They've just stopped now, but we're quietly having a chuckle, Dave and myself, because that baby just got a face full of mud from Mom, whether it wanted or not. She grabbed a trunk full of muddy water, and she threw it backwards over herself, but she missed and she hit the baby full in the face. And this is how elephants cool themselves down. They love doing something like this. It makes them feel so much better on a hot, hot day, especially when you're this small and they haven't quite got their internal temperature control exactly down. There you go, Podge. You want to know why do elephants keep flapping their ears? Because it's hot. So they're not angry, they're not cross elephants at all. It's because they are feeling quite warm. And an ear is like an elephant's air conditioning unit. So they've got lots of blood vessels all surrounding the very sort of thin skin of their ears. And then by flapping them, it basically allows the wind to pass over the blood vessels and to cool them down. Oh, I was hoping he was going to come through here, but he hasn't. Okay. Don't disappear, Ellies. They're all going into some very dense vegetation now. I won't be able to follow them through here. But if they continue in the direction they are going, they're going to hit Taylor and those lions. Let's go across to Brent. I think he's got what he's been searching for.
They're coming to us. Killer bees and Rex. And again, Rex, when we go on foot, do we always find the leopards? So you actually can't see them at the moment. There's this thicket in there, and weeping wattle thicket. The leopards are in there. So we're just trying to get a view. I think this might be one of the cases. We think they might have a kill in there where we're not going to be able to view them on foot for too long. We might have to call a vehicle in just because they might get defensive over a kill. And it is very thick, so to actually see them, I think you probably have to be really close. I keep checking maybe Fosana is sleeping somewhere a little bit off. I mean, you can see a tail flick every now and then, but you literally cannot see into there. We're just going to keep moving around, but I think we might have to call a vehicle in for this one. We'll keep trying though. Of course, because they've probably got a kill there, we don't want to push our luck. The grass is also long. As you know, another leopard, Karula or whatnot, could be lying anywhere. So we're keeping our distance a little bit. And I think we might be calling the vehicles in. I don't think we're going to be able to get a view on foot today, unfortunately. But nevertheless, another successful track. You can see where Hassan has been lying. This is different. This is a different thicket, but you can see how that grass is. I'm just trying to see if there isn't a leopard in there. There isn't, but you can see that flattened grass. Is there a leopard in there, Brian? Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's try a little bit further forward. And so you've got to be quite careful now with this long grass. Don't worry, guys, we are safe. And we've done this quite a lot of times before. Now, in this type of situation, the leopards are just going to let us walk past when they see us. Yeah, I think it's just too thick. I was just hoping there's a little bit of shorter grass here, and I was hoping one of them might be lying out in the shorter grass, but it doesn't look like it. I think we're going to call Taylor in, and so she can get you a view of these leopards. We're not going to be able to see them nicely on foot. The only available termite mound is right next to them. Well, we found them, and that's what counts, and you can enjoy a sighting with Taylor. We think they've got a kill in there. It's difficult for us to see. Grass is long, and we don't want to irritate them. And as long as we keep our distance and keep our respect, we can enjoying these incredible sightings on foot. So let's go to Jamie and elephants while we chat to Taylor on the radio.
How absolutely gorgeous is this? Elephants quenching their thirst, splashing water. There's one young one wading about in the muddy pan, grabbing trunks full of soft grass. I just need to talk to Brent. He's going to guide me into that leopard sighting. Standing by, Brent. You can just watch these elephants as they go about their afternoon. Copy. Confirm near the dam itself or along the road. Okay, copy, Brent. I'm on that Jigga Jigga road. I'll start making my way once we're finished with these in Love. Copy that, thank you. So what I'm doing there is just chatting to Brent to get an idea as to where those leopards are. And I'm going to go and take his place with the vehicle. But I don't want to leave these elephants just yet. It's such a special sighting. Bless you. And Dave sneezing on the back of the vehicle there. Oh, this is so lovely. You can hear the elephants splashing. Just listen to the sounds. You can even hear their ears flapping. Thank you, Elise. What a lovely sighting. Now, Taj, you want to know why do the elephants have such large ears? Well, remember what I told you about their inbuilt air conditioning unit? And I'm just going to switch on and reposition quickly. Paj, the reason they have such large ears is because it means that there's more surface area for the blood vessels. So all of those capillaries and so on will be spread out over that massive surface area of their ears, which means that they cool down faster if they have big ears. So that's why African elephants have such large ears. Remember, out here, temperatures can get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Often even more, often over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So it can get very, very hot. And because they're so big, they have to have a good way of cooling themselves down. Hi, big girl. They're gonna come hopefully right up to us. I don't want to push forward too much, just because I don't want to make them feel blocked in any way. Apparently, unfortunately, it's time for us to say goodbye to all of you. Not all of you, just those of you who are joining us for the school drive. So I hope you had an amazing time. Enjoy the rest of your school day. And for the rest of you, I'm going to send you back to Taylor.
Well, welcome back. The lions have not moved an inch, but we have. We've decided to reposition. But sadly, we're not going to stay too much longer with these cats because I suspect that they're not going to get up to anything at all. They're fast asleep. They haven't yawned. They haven't really, like I said, twitched besides their tails swatting the flies occasionally. But Jamie is definitely coming back a little bit later. But you all know how I feel about watching sleeping lions. Well, I think there's honestly nothing worse than sitting here. I'd like to go and find some buffalo, some hippos. I thought that maybe we could go and head towards Chitwa Dam a little bit later. That would be fun to watch some hippos, but earlier before the sun sets, so we have some nice light to watch them. But yes, these boys, I think, will only get active a little bit later. Maybe earlier than normal because it's hot. It's very hot when you're sitting in the sun, but when you're in the shade, it's not too bad. It's actually quite pleasant. But you can see that also when they do drink water, they're going to have a sip of water. They just have to crawl about half a lion's length, have a lap of water, crawl back to their shady spot, and then they'll go back to sleep again. It's sad that the water isn't a little bit further away, because that way then at least we see a bit more action. How cool is that? It's very quiet out here too. There's no impala, just a couple of birds chatting about. I think everybody knows that these boys are here. They're not making too much effort to conceal themselves. Now, Sage, you're wondering then, on this hot summer's day, how many prides could a coalition of males take on? That depends. If you remember the Mapojos, the famous lions that ruled the Sabi Sand, oh my goodness, they must have had 5 or 6 different prides of lions easily. Well, the Birminghams see the Styx pride, the Nkuhumas, I reckon that's about it, really, isn't it? I think it's just those two. That's who they sort of see. There are a couple of other lions here, like the Talalas, but there are some young males there. I don't think these boys would be tending to those females just yet. And then the Torchwood Pride, I'm sure they pop past the Torchwood Pride every now and then too. I think probably Nena or Nsuku would be more likely to be hanging around with the Torchwood Pride, seen as though their territories extend a little bit further east from here. I just need to chat to one of the guides. Standing by. Abel, you're more than welcome to come to Spaghetti Junction. So we're just east of Chelepan. You're more than welcome to take over the sighting. I'll be pulling out shortly. There we go. That one's now hiding away. One thing I did notice, though, on the Birminghams is that they're battered and bruised. They've got cuts all over their faces. Both of them are looking quite scratched up. I'm not sure if it's from fighting with one another or if they gave the Matimbas a hiding and sent them running for the hills. That could also be the case, especially with there's scratches on... Look at this one. Craig, can you go to Tinyor that's lying on the left and look at his hindquarters? He's got quite a few scratches on his rump, actually. Can you see that? Look there. Well, I think they've definitely been swatting at somebody, and they've also been swatted at. Those scratches sort of look more like, I think they do look very much like claw marks. So I think that they've been given a little bit of a whack here and there too, but they're good. They're so strong and resilient, something like that really wouldn't do too much damage to them. They're pretty fit and healthy, and they've got relatively big bellies too. But like I said, we're going to leave these lions now. We're going to let them snooze for the rest of the afternoon, and hopefully by the time Jamie gets here, with or without the elephants, they'll be up and awake. But let's go across to Jamie and that wonderful herd that she was sitting with earlier.
It looks like it's going to be without the Ellies, but we will be going to those lions a little bit later. However, I just can't tear myself away from this little one. It's just kept me so thoroughly entertained that I just can't bring myself to leave. It's been a while since I've seen an elephant herd, and they will never fail to cheer me up. Now, don't forget, for our live audiences, well, you're all our live audiences, please send through your questions on hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. I hope you are enjoying this. That face full of mud, it happens so quickly, but Dave and I, we were really chuckling. It was utterly adorable. It was just splat all over the little one's face. It was sort of did a little half stumble back. Hey, baby, did your mummy throw mud all over you? I also love watching them learn to use their trunks. Like toddlers in their hands, it's that same coordination that they have to work out. This is actually much younger than I thought it was. This is actually quite a young baby. It's under 6 months. It's still fuzzy. And its legs are still a little bit wobbly. I'd actually put it at about 3 months. What you doing? You scratching on Mum? Is she a good scratching post, little boy? Get behind those ears, yeah? Have a jolly good rub. It's so cute. And that trunk, little one? What is that funny thing on the end of your face? What are you meant to do with it? Oh, so much learning to do. Too much learning. Time to have lunch. Anna, you want to know how you determine the sex of baby Ellies? Oh, thank you, my girl. That was an explosive expression of gases. The best way is to look, it's very difficult with baby Ellies unless you can see between their back legs, and even then it can be quite tricky. When the little males urinate, then you can see the penis quite clearly because it comes out of the sheath a little bit. But essentially you're looking for a V between the back legs rather than if you look at the mother, if we look between her back legs, sorry girl, when she turns, you'll be able to see she's sort of got a sort of a U between her legs, whereas the males have a little bit of a V. I think this is a little boy. I still haven't properly had a good look. I think it looks like a little boy. Oh, there is a large elephant that I did not see. It was coming up behind us. I think stay on the baby, Dave. She's gonna walk past in a sort of a not so visible spot. And that I just want to try and see if I could work out what sex it is. It looks like a little boy to me. Keith, you want to know what do I like most about little elephants? And I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It's a little girl. Look at this. That, Keith, is what I love most about elephants. That affection. That's not mom. That's an older sibling. And that incredible bond that they have between them. And the fact that even young elephants will guard and babysit the calves. That is what I love about them. Their intelligence as a species. And the special bonds that they have. Excuse me, boys, could you not walk into us while you're having a scuffle? That would be ideal. Sorry, now we can have a look. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Sorry, girls. Oh, never mind. If you're two girls, you're not going to do that. It's a male and a female. That's interesting. I think she was telling him off a little bit. She's an adult whilst he's a teenager. And whilst they're very close in size, I can't stop looking at that baby. She's pregnant. Massively pregnant. You can see the way she bulges out at the side. Elephants carry their pregnancies quite high, up towards their spines. You're going to get into trouble, mister, if you bug her too much. You don't mess with a pregnant lady. Especially not one that has to carry a 100-kilogram baby for 22 months. I would not go there. Keith, there are too many things that I love about elephants to even name. I love the fact that they're always busy doing something. I love that they express so much in the subtlest ways of their body language. I love the expression in their eyes when they walk right up next to you. It feels as though you're looking at something that's looking back at you, if that makes sense. Obviously, all of the animals look back at us, but there's something behind those eyes in elephants. I don't know what it is. Many years of acquired wisdom, I imagine. And that as well. The fact that they live so long. I'd love to know the stories that they could tell. Dave, what do you love about elephants?
It's their calm nature.
Their calm nature. They do, when you have an elephant herd like this, and I mean, these guys are so chilled, I swear I could drive right next to them and they'd be quite happy. I'm obviously not going to test that theory. I was saying to Dave, one day my last word's going to be, it's so chilled. They're so chilled. This animal's perfectly chilled. It'll be my last words on my gravestone. What was I talking about? Yeah, there's nothing like sitting with a calm elephant herd to put you in a good mood. You can be angry. I'm just going to give this one in behind. You can be angry, you can be sad, you can be happy. And no matter what your emotions are, they have a special way of grounding you. Over the next few weeks, World Butterfly Day is going to be coming up, and Brent is playing the role of a Disney princess.
Well, it's a very sickly yellow pansy. So at the end of the life cycle, fluttering around on the ground, not healthy at all, unfortunately, but it does actually give us a chance to look at how beautiful this butterfly is, the yellow pansy, but not a very healthy one. Shame. I love those little blue eyes on their wings. You can see this wing is either damaged or I'm not sure. There we go. It's still alive, but definitely not well. I mean, if I can pick it up as it flutters around on the ground, it's not a healthy butterfly. No, I'm trying to show you the colours, but the wind is being difficult. Oh, there it goes. Shame. Well, anyway, yes, World Butterfly Day is coming up. Not next month, this month. If I remember correctly, it's on the 14th. So, well, if you like butterflies like me, quite exciting. I think I might have to climb a mountain because I'm on holiday. Go see if there's any butterflies at the top. The last time we went up Mariepskorp, which is the highest mountain close to this area, we went up with Steph and also with Blake, and we happened to see a mass of butterflies, just literally a wall of butterflies way up high. And it was quite interesting, very, very beautiful. And then I thought, well, I wonder what's going on here. Why are all these butterflies here? Why are they on the edge of the cliff? And then I did a bit more research about it, and I've actually, oh no, now I've forgotten the name. A butterfly gathering, I can't remember the name. So basically, because below that cliff face is a thick misspelt rainforest, and the butterflies find it very difficult to find each other to mate in those rainforests. So when it's mating season, and multiple species will literally come up onto these open cliff faces and all fly around looking for mates. It's incredible. So we actually got lucky and saw one of those. It sounds like someone's on their way here. Oh, let's keep moving. So we just heard, of course we couldn't see what Karula had caught, but Ralph, who's now in there from Cheetah Plains, he can see. And it is an adult impala. Sorry, there's a weird stick. There we go. And it's an adult impala. So good news. Let's hopefully she eats enough of it that they take it up a tree, because it is quite close to Twin Dams Road, and those Birmingham boys are less than a kilometre that way. This is also a really big highway for hyenas. So let's hopefully they eat enough of it that she whacks it upstairs so nothing can get to it. Now, we weren't sure what to do next now, because, I mean, we found the leopards, killer bees, and Rexon, BBR. So we found the leopards, so we weren't sure what we were going to do. Now, that flailing butterfly has given me an idea. We're quite close to the best butterfly spot in the reserve, so I'm changing my angle of walk. And we're going to drop down into the Moati riverbed, where there's normally a plethora of butterflies. Oh, yay! We haven't seen these yet this year. Well, not too many of them. So the rain is always bringing out some flowers. And again, just a very pretty flower. It's called a hymania, or a pink bell. So I always find it fascinating, because I like butterflies, how the different flowers are designed. So if you see these, they actually face down and the bright colors are underneath. So you've really got to be attracted to this particular flower to see that. So it's designed to attract different species of insects, to say a flower that sits boom wide out in the open. But lovely smell, lovely flower, not much medicinal use. But another one that likes disturbed soil, so you often find them on the edge of roads like this. The Hymania glandifolia, pink bells. Okay. Now, as we head towards our butterfly central, the leopards are probably 150 meters from us, and they are very relaxed. Spas Iankov would like to know, how many species of butterflies do we have? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but I would say in southern Africa, well over 300-400 species. In the Sabi Sands itself, I would say definitely over 100, but I'm not sure on the exact figure. Now, the reason for that is a lot of the small, tiny butterflies, like the blues, and I'll try to find you a blue, and I must say there are probably about 50 blues here, and I can only identify 3. They are really, really, really difficult to identify. They're also really tiny, smaller than my fingernail, which makes them tough to get. Is that what I think it is? Nope. Unfortunately not. Oh, here's a blue. Let's see if it lands. You get him, Brian. There. Oh. So that's why I say they're really difficult. This looks like a spotted blue. And I'm just trying to look at the underside of the wing. But they are minute. And very, very difficult to identify. And the reason they're very difficult to identify is a lot of them look exactly the same. And of course, I should have brought my camera, then I can photograph it, then it makes it a bit easier. But yes, I think that's a spotted blue from where I am, but it can be very difficult for the blues. Oh, it's the other blue. Oh, goodness. I'm going to have to take my book out when I get home. Brian's going to try and get another shot of it now. There we go. Brian's got it now. So you can see the outside isn't blue, but the inside wings are incredible blue color. And they can be dull blue, they can be dark blue, they can be electric blue. It all just depends on the species. Okay, so I'm going to put my stick there so hopefully we can see the inside wing color. Oh, they're so fast as well. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. We're going to keep looking for more butterflies and other interesting little things. While we do that, let's go to Jamie, who's departed from the elephants.
I've actually departed and refound the Ellies. Unfortunately, just a few seconds too late. I was hoping to get ahead of them, but we just missed them. And out they've popped on the other side of the road into very dense vegetation. Oh, phew. Dave and I did such a manic drag race around the opposite direction so that we could get ahead of them, but they just outpaced us. Oh well. Next time. I was thinking of the quintessential virtual reality shot with a herd of elephants walking down the road towards us. But alas, it was not to be. Are there any more coming? No. Oh well, time for us to go to those leopards then, I think, Dave. Let's. Even the babies the babies definitely disappeared in here. Well, it was a wonderful, how long has it been? Hour and a bit spent with elephants. And Anne in Maryland. Thank you for joining us, Anne. Yes, baby elephants do need to nap during the day, just like human beings, just like, I could just see from their tracks, they all walked up this road. All together as a group. Sorry, Anne. Just like all baby mammals, they've got so much growing to do and so much learning and stimulation in their lives that yes, they do need to nap during the day. So a baby elephant will lie down, the entire herd will stop moving, and they will come and crowd around the baby, often providing shade where there isn't any. So mom will just stand and shade the baby with her body, and baby will lie down, sometimes with siblings and cousins and so on. They'll all lie down and have a big snooze, and it's really sweet to watch. They go straight, they're fast asleep. You can see they're fast asleep. They're lying flat, there's no movement. And all of the females just stand there dozing themselves. It's really special to watch an elephant nap time. In fact, I'd say elephant nap time is one of my favorite times. All right, Ellies. We tried. But we did have a marvelous afternoon spent with them. I think it's time to go see those leopards, and then we'll go back to the lions before the end of the sunset safari. That's the way Taylor and I have planned out our afternoon. I'm chuffed Brent got the leopards again for us. We knew they were there this morning. I could hear the monkey's alarm calling. I just knew we were so close and yet so far. And once again, we have to approach a bit of a dip up ahead to get to those leopards. Hey, that's really cool. Before I go through the dip, plaster of casts, I think. Oh goodness, Dave, how am I going to show you what you're looking at? Am I going to drive into a hole? Not yet. I'm trying to look through my monitor to gauge. There. Where is it now? There. There they are. There. Sorry, Dave. There. Leopard tracks in the mud. Beautiful leopard tracks in the mud. Okay, admittedly less beautiful from Dave's angle. I'm going to continue on past the tracks to the actual leopards. Let's go to Brent in his favorite butterfly spot.
Okay, we're in our favorite butterfly spot, and it is in the Moati River. And we've got some magnificent butterflies. So I'm not going to move. I actually also think I see a butterfly that's caught in a spider's web. But before we look at that one, there's a citrus swallowtail, one of the biggest and most beautiful butterflies that likes to flap around our parts. Now we get a couple of different types of swallowtails here. That's the second biggest one. The biggest one is the emperor swallowtail. Isn't that gorgeous? Flappity flappity flap. I'm just trying to spot, oh, there's some monarchs around as well. Over there. The one's keeping still. So we've come here because there's these little part of the daisy family that grow in the Moati riverbed, which attracts many different species of butterflies. So it's always a good spot. Is that a diadem there as well? So you see that monarch you're on there, Brian, that's flapping about. Just to the left of it looks like a black and white butterfly, which is a diadem. Really enjoying these daisies. Awesome. Oh, the swallowtail is still flapping about. I'm trying to see if there's some species we don't see too often. So diadems, swallowtails, monarchs are all quite common. And what has come to its end in the spider's web? Oh, it's still alive. And it's in the spider's web. I wonder where the spider is. I think the spider that made this is a bit to deal with an adult monarch butterfly. I can't... Oh, can I see the spider? Not at the moment. But with a big piece of prey like this... Now this is a very interesting spider's web. It looks like it's in a Leonotis plant. Now, there's got some really big stuff in it that has been put into a larder. Now, what the spider will probably do, it's probably quite small. I can't see it. It's probably hiding in there somewhere. And it's purposely designed this intricate little web that sits outside the flowers. So the flowers are in the inside, and there's a web cage around the flowers. So any butterfly or bee or anything that comes to suckle out of the flowers is going to get caught in this web. Isn't that amazing? I can't see the spider yet. Now I think it might wait for this big butterfly to actually die before it starts feeding on it. Shame, little monarch. But that's life. Can you see the spider, right? Let me try and look on this side. I think they've got there. Sorry about that. We are live on foot from the African bush, so we do have some pixelation from time to time. I can't see the spider. I can see inside there's about 3 different beetle species. There's hoverflies, there's robberflies. So of course this spider has obviously evolved to feed off any nectar feeding insects, and has built this beautiful, this sort of invisible to most animals cage around the flowers. So as the flowers come out, these flying insects come in here to try get hold of that wonderful nectar, and unfortunately for them, it is a trap. That butterfly seems to just work itself deep. The monarch butterfly undertakes a massive migration, and it's actually a generational migration. And hunters wondering, do we have any butterfly species that migrate? Sorry, we had a bit of a freeze there, but Hunter was wondering if we get any butterfly species that migrate. We do, Hunter, the whites, the brown-veined white, the African vagrant or migrant. They don't have as long a distance to travel as the American monarch. Now, I thought I saw a pretty lady around here somewhere. Where's that pretty lady gone? So, lots of monarchs. There's more monarchs. But I'm sure I saw a pretty lady somewhere in these. Oh, there's a joker. Oh, and a skipper. These are really difficult to get on camera. Oh, see it there, that really fast flying one. He's just landed on the other side. I'll show you, I'll try to show you now. Oh, that one. Just watch him. Oh, he's so fast, he's out of here. So I didn't hear. Oh, let's have a look. Anne. That's what I was looking for. Anne was wondering, why does the African bush... Oh, there's the joker. Just below me. Anne was wondering, why does the African bush have so many more bird and butterfly species? Well, Anne, it's quite simple, because we don't get so cold. At the end of the day, that's the fact of it. Temperate climates will always have more birds and butterflies. Africa, Australia, the East, and sort of Malaysia, Indonesia, South America, again, always more butterflies, birds, just because the climate is warmer. That is the main reason. Where has the pretty lady gone, Brian?
I don't know.
Is that her over there? I think it is. It is a pretty lady. We found the pretty lady. I'm not referring to the ladies in FC, of course. I'm referring to the butterfly. You see that one there? Oh, where she's gone. She's gone. Pretty lady doesn't want to be on camera today. Okay, let's sneak. Oh, there she's coming back. She's coming back, coming right towards us. And she's landed on the ground, and she's up again. The pretty lady playing hard to get, like most pretty ladies do. Oh, and she's off.
Had it for a second.
We had it for a second. Oh, she's back. She's flirting with us, Brian. So there's a pretty lady. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Now we are getting quite late in the season, so there's a few less butterfly species around. So some butterfly species will only be around during the summer months. Others, like the African vagrant and the brown-veined whites, monarchs, will breed throughout the year, but obviously with a peak in the summer months when there's lots of food and flowers and that available. And we're trying to see if we can find any more butterfly species. Let's head a little bit further down. What have you spotted, Brian? Right. Oh, there we go. A window acrea. So the same species of butterfly that James has been trying to hatch in the tent. That orange, where's it going to land? Well, let's get a bit closer. It's going quite far. You can see it's got a very labored and lazy flying style. So you'll find that with most of the noxious butterflies, the ones that have poison, they have that labored and lazy flying style to sort of advertise the fact that they taste bad. Where's she going now? Back to where we were, of course. You. Oh no, that acrea is long gone. And speaking of pretty ladies, Jamie is with the leopards.
A very pretty lady in front of us indeed, as Queen Karula makes her way underneath the weeping wattle, where apparently she has an impala carcass that she's managed to catch and kill. This is going to be a tricky situation because the view is really, really difficult. I'm not sure whether Hosanna or Shungila are feeding, or if it's just Karula here. I'm not 100% sure. She's sniffing around the log. Oh, and thank you, Karula. That is a perfect spot for you to be. If you would lie there, that would be marvelous. And then we can do some shuffling around and some repositioning so that we can see her properly. So we're just going to be a little bit patient. This is a stunning, stunning. Look at the colors. That green and gold. Karula's patriotic. Hey, Dave. The colors of our rugby team. She's the gold and the branches are the green. Okay, so we're just going to wait for the other vehicle in the sighting to reposition. Actually, I'm not in a hurry to go anywhere just yet. I don't think we're going to have a much better view. I think this is actually quite spectacular. I don't know if the cubs are here. I haven't seen any sign of them, and I'm sorry. I've automatically put my foot on the brake and it's still there, so I'm going to take it off. The camera's going to roll a bit. It's not Dave, it's me. There you go. Sorted. I don't want to throw Dave under the bus.
Thanks, Amy.
It's a pleasure, Dave. It would be horrible if you got a correction in our feedback meeting and it turned out it was me. Apparently the cubs are here as well. Alfonso, absolutely it is true that leopards often kill by breaking the neck of their prey. That very regularly happens. So a lot of the kills are by suffocation, but especially when it's something small, that they are able to get a good grip, they will sometimes grab the prey by the back of the neck as well. And that's actually how we saw Hosanna make the first proper kill that we saw him make, was with a baby Inyala. And he still hadn't got the sort of the strangling technique right, but he managed to sort of pull the baby Inyala in a way that snapped its neck, and I was actually very glad of it. I was very glad that the young Inyala didn't have to suffer for Hosanna to learn. So yes, you are right. Whoever told you that was absolutely correct. Leopards do kill by breaking the necks of their prey quite regularly. I'm sorry, there's quite a bit of chatter that is happening that's causing a bit of distraction on my side, just between the various guides deciding who is coming in or out of the sighting. Now I'm going to do some shuffling around and some chatting on the Game Drive comms just to clarify where we all stand. While I do, Taylor's found another spotted creature, but much taller.
We've actually come across a journey of giraffe. Now I'm uncertain as to how many are here just yet. I've seen 2 so far. I don't know what the sex of the other one is, but this is a female, and she is so relaxed. Now, it's not often that the giraffe are relaxed with us, that she actually walked closer to the vehicle. Can you believe that? She was feeding off just in the drainage, and she walked straight up to feed on this sort of dwarfed knobthorn, I suppose. Yes, it is a knobthorn, yes, a little one. And you can see she's stripping the leaves now with her very, very long tongue, having a grand old time. This is so lovely. Thank you, giraffe. You are very accommodating, but not hanging around for too long, as you know. Always just munching just a couple of minutes on each shrub or tree and then moving on to the next one. Now, it must be amazing to be a giraffe. Couldn't you imagine being the height of a giraffe and then, of course, having that incredible eyesight and being able to see for miles and miles? I think that must be really fantastic. Look at her hiding behind the trees. Now she looks like she's feeding on a buffalo thorn. So she's moving between buffalo thorns, knob thorns, and all sorts of spiky trees today. But that doesn't stop a giraffe, a tree that's got lots of thorns on. They thrive at feeding on the prickliest of trees. And coming back again, doing a bit of a zigzag. This is quite cool. I actually don't know if I've ever sat and watched a giraffe move up and down like this. No, now she's not eating. She's heading straight for the next shrub. What is it going to be, Craig? What tree do you think she's going to feed on next? This is a gamble because I can't see where she's heading. What has she got? That looks like another buffalo thorn that she's munching on over there. Again, another small one. And there's a lot of dwarfed trees around here. And this is not from the giraffe. This is actually from another animal, the elephants. So those big, lovely animals you had with Jamie earlier today, they seem to have hit this area quite hard and made all of these shrubs very, very, very small. But they'll grow eventually. What with that giraffe, they don't completely decimate trees, they just nibble a little for a few minutes and then they move off again. And that's also because of the tannins that these plants are releasing in the form of a pheromone, sort of telling the roots are telling the leaves to start releasing the tannins to turn the leaves bitter. It's as a chemical defense to try and protect them. And if they didn't have this, you can imagine these trees would be stumps. There'd be nothing left on them. The elephants would completely devour them, and then so would the giraffe, the kudu, the impala, the bushbuck, and inyala, and everything else that feeds on leaves. Craig, let's go around. There was another giraffe on the other side. Maybe we'll get a view from Treehouse Dam. That's where we are at the moment. I'd like to see how many more giraffes are around. So we'll just shoot around, jump on the dam wall, and maybe we'll be able to look back into this drainage system and see what else is lurking around here. Now remember, you are watching a live safari, and you've seen the royal family with Jamie and Brent's doing all the butterflies. We had lions, and we've got these very tall creatures to look at now. So if you'd love to ask any questions or just anything about going on a safari, you can hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, and that is the way to get hold of us. Let's see if I was right. Maybe I imagined that other giraffe, but I'm pretty sure I saw two when we first arrived. Let's take a quick look. Just amazing how it just completely opens up over here. And then you can clearly see after the dam again, it becomes very dense. Right, let's search the side. Look how thick it is. Now, I'd seen another head. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I've spotted it. It's on the road. How excited! Oh, just off of the road. Looks like a young giraffe, so we'll catch up to it now. Maybe it's this female giraffe we've just seen. Maybe it's her calf. Now, Shannon from Ohio. Hello, you're wondering if I've ever seen a giraffe giving birth. I have. Can you believe that that was one of the first things I was ever to witness during my guide training, which is pretty exceptional. Most people wait years and years to see animals giving birth, and I was very, very lucky one morning safari to go out and come around the corner and see a giraffe giving birth. We sat, I can't even remember how long we sat for, but it was ages. This giraffe is just here. It is a youngster. Let me see if I can get a view up ahead. And we watched it, and the giraffe would really, you could, oh, hello little one. That's lovely. Here we go. So that little giraffe, it just started to come out, and you could just see its head. Well, actually its leg, a little bit of its legs, and then its head popped out, and eventually it fell to the ground, 6 feet off of the ground, and landed where it laid down, wobbled a bit. Mom leant, well, with a long neck, she stretched it down. She then started grooming it, and within about an hour it was up and standing on its feet, which was unbelievable to see. And then we watched it take its first steps too, which were very, very wobbly, and we also watched it take its first suckle. But the most amazing thing about that whole experience is how that female moved away from the rest of the group to give birth in quite a dense area. Also was quite long grass, so it did make it a bit difficult for us to watch. But as soon as she'd given birth, all the giraffe came through. They were sort of watching from a distance, and then they came walking through, and then they were introduced to this new little calf, which was exceptional. But this is a calf too, not a teeny tiny one, as we were hoping. And I think we know this, and I said this the other day about warthogs, but I've got photos of these two giraffes. And the reason why I think it's them, because they're so relaxed. Like I said, I haven't seen too many relaxed giraffe here in the Sabi sand before, but I've come across these two, and this one's probably about, it's actually quite big, isn't it? It's a bit difficult to tell with the grasses. It's up to its belly almost. It's a couple, I'd say 2 years old, maybe 2.5 years old, maybe even a bit older than that. closer to 3, but I think we have seen them before on quarantine. Now, we're going to watch them walk through. Mom is on this side and the other giraffe is just over here. And Jamie, you've actually asked a question. How does mom and calf sort of talk to each other? How do they spot each other? How do they tell each other where they are? It's actually pretty amazing. You may have seen that giraffe, how it turned around and was looking back. It wasn't looking at us. It was trying to see if it could see mom. Let's move on a bit further forward. So most of their communication is done through body language. You'll often see giraffes staring far away in the distance. There he is. Hello, little one. And they will look at each other and will communicate like that. I've heard giraffe making strange noises before, but typically, see there, looking. And hopefully they'll get the eye contact from mom. Mom's also looking every now and then, just popping her head up above the trees to make sure she can see what her little one is doing. But, what was I going to tell you something now? Oh, I hate it when that happens, when your mind goes completely blank. And it happens to me quite often. It'll come back to me eventually. Oh, the noises that they make. So it's really quite funny that one day I was sitting, we were watching a couple of giraffe. They were standing near a termite mound. We'll go up forward again. We'll catch up with this giraffe. And it was so really, really funny. We were sitting there and these giraffes started behaving quite strangely. They weren't quite relaxed like these two are. They were quite a distance away from us. And they started making it sounded like that. It was a bit strange. But I looked at my tracker Candy, and Candy looked at me, and we were like, you know, what's going on? The next minute a leopard stood up on top of the termite mound. It was a massive termite mound. We couldn't see right on top of it. It must have been 3 or 4 meters high, so much higher than what we were, and out of the long grass popped this little head, and the giraffe almost alarming at it, but it was a strange noise. Like I said, it sort of sounded like somebody blowing against a straw, so it was sort of like never, and I've heard it a couple of times then with lions. Where's mom? I just saw mom. You can see the little one. They're sort of walking in the line with each other, but mom is on the opposite side of the drainage line, and then you've got the little calf here. We'll have to go forward again. Maybe we get lucky this time. Let me see if I can find. There we go. That's a bit better. There we go. Now you can see mom. She's doing the same thing. She's looking at us now, but she also looks across to the left to see if she can see her little one. Now, this calf is getting quite old. Hopefully, if it pops itself out onto the road, I'll really be able to see how old it is. I think it's about 2.5 or so. Let me go forward again. The grass gets a bit shorter here. Oh, it's such a tricky spot. But I think we can do it. Yeah, almost. Just past these silver cluster leaves. There we go. Now we've got a gap. That's perfect. That's a lovely gap, that. Now, Sandra, you were wondering how long do giraffes stay with their calves? It's an interesting relationship that giraffe have. So we see the bond between leopards and lions and their cubs is quite strong, as well as you're seeing it with impala. And then the best sort of, I think, example of a strong bond between two mammals is the elephants. And the mom elephant will almost do anything to try and protect her calf. Now, giraffe, they will try their absolute best if a predator were to come about to try and save it, but often they will move off if they have to. Just they don't want to risk their own lives. Elephants have got the upper hand. They're big and strong. I would say for a couple of years, for I reckon the first 5 years of a giraffe's life, it's hanging around in the same herd that it was sort of born into. But remember, with breeding herds, when you see the big groups of giraffe, they have an interesting behavior called temporary associations. And what that essentially means is that they're not bound to that herd, that group that they're living in. They can move around freely if they'd like. They can come and go as they please. But the bond between a calf and mom is quite strong. You can see this youngster continuously looking across the drainage line, looking for reassurance. Is everything okay? Are you relaxed? And if mom were to start running or panicking, then this little calf would do exactly the same thing. And I'm sure they'll join up again soon. They just decided they've got different appetites and will seem to be feeding on different things. We saw mom earlier was eating the buffalo thorns and knob thorns, and this one was feeding on the bush willows. which I don't think are as tasty, because if you ask any of us guides who have ever tasted the leaves of a buffalo thorn, they're actually quite delicious. They're really not too bad. I can see why giraffe and impala, bushbuck and inyala and kudu all tend to favor those leaves. They're lovely. They really are lovely. What I really would like this afternoon, though, is if this giraffe would, or both of these giraffe would go down to have a drink. That is something really amazing to see. A giraffe stretched down with its long neck, do the splits, and then take a long sip of, well, I don't know if you could describe it as cool water, but buffalo and hippo and elephant infested water. Because that's really what it is, isn't it? So Brent is on a roll this afternoon with butterflies. I must actually let him know where these giraffe are. It will be interesting. Maybe he can try and do an approach on them in this lovely golden light. But let's go across to all those lovely things that flutter in the glistening light.
Now, it's getting a little late for butterflies. We were with the skipper, but it skipped out of frame. Oh, doggone skipper. So we're just going to check this last little section of these daisies and other flowers for some butterflies. And of course, I have to show you all the butterflies because I'm going to be on leave when World Butterfly Day comes. So I think we should force James Henry to take you on a butterfly drive. I see Brian's smile starts getting bigger and bigger behind the camera. I don't know if James quite likes butterflies as much as I do. Maybe James should take the butterfly drive. Or Taylor. Or actually Tristan's quite good at butterflies as well. And we're just seeing, so a lot of these flowers that were here earlier have now dissipated. So there's not as many butterfly species as there were a couple of weeks ago. But remember, the flowers could come again after that bit of rain we've had. Oh dear. No butterflies. But that's fine. We're enjoying a lovely, leisurely Mwati stroll down the riverbed. Now, I was hoping that one of those cubs might come play in the riverbed, but it seems like they're still that side. So we're going to make a big loop, go through one of my favorite Tambuti groves in between Leadwood Road and Mumba Road. It's seen quite a lot of interesting species. Oh, darn it. What was that? I think I walked. There must have been a caterpillar on one of these. Burnt my leg. I can't see it. Quite often when you're walking, you suddenly get an itchy or burning sensation on your legs. It's from a tiny little caterpillar. That's why Brian's probably the most sensible of all of us, because he wears large gaiters. I just think I'd get too hot wearing those. Look, Brian showing you his gaiters. Okay, let's go up out of the riverbed and see what we can find on the alluvial plain of the riverbed. So the alluvial plain is always an area that's very productive because it's where historically flooding has deposited high nutrient-rich soil, so there's good grasses, so often lots of animals. So while we check out our alluvial plain, let's go back to Jamie and the gorgeous royal family.
Well, one member of the gorgeous royal family, the other two are really spectacularly hidden. But we have managed to shuffle around a little bit so that we can bring you this spectacular view of the front of her face. And she's enjoying a little bit of rest and sleep, panting heavily. It is hot and she's obviously exhausted herself. Luckily she's right next to twin dams, so there's plenty of water for her to go and quench her thirst when she's ready. We can see another cub. We can see one of her cubs. Dave actually spotted it, which was very, very well done to Dave. We knew that they were under there. We could hear them crunching and we could hear the leaves moving within the tree. But there you go. There's one of the little royal cublets. I'm not even sure which one it is. Honestly can't tell you. Sorry, everybody, I'm just listening to the Game Drive comms and what is happening there. There you go. All right, everything all sorted out. The reshuffle has been done, and everybody's got a nice view of the leopard. Well, one leopard anyway. Lou says her money is on Hosanna feeding. My money's actually on Shungile. It was a bit difficult to tell in that tiny patch of spots. Should we look again, Dave? Who do you think it is? I think it's Shungile. I've got no idea why I say it's Shungile. I can only see the back of one ear. But for some reason my money's on Shungile. Who do we think this is, everybody? Can you tell? Oh, Dave. I think we might be mistaken. Had a brief flash of an eye. Come on, little leopard, turn your head. Perhaps Lou is right. Perhaps it is the male cub with the voracious appetite. No, we can't change our mind. We'll have to stay with our original answer. Stanley, good question coming through from you. You want to know whether predators are more likely to hunt during sunrise or sunset. Probably sunrise, although not by a particularly large margin. The only reason I say sunrise is just because often at sunset things like lions are generally only just getting going, whereas by sunrise they've been moving throughout the night and they've been searching for prey. So they'll be hunting throughout the night. So at sunrise, by the time the sun's coming up, they might be more committed to actually their full hunting efforts before it gets too hot. Leopards any time of the day. Honestly, I've seen Karula kill an impala when it was over 30 degree day. She just came out of nowhere. So leopards are impossible to predict, although they generally do most of their moving around sunset and sunrise. Cheetah, again, late evening or early morning. It's impossible to say. Wild dogs, exactly the same. They'll go to bed as soon as it starts to get dark, as will the cheetah. And spotted hyenas at night. I'm not sure if we could say sunrise or sunset. It's difficult. Those two times are pretty evenly matched in terms of whether or not the animals are out hunting. There's not much in it for the various predators. But of course, remember, we're talking about mammal predators here. Diurnal predators that are bird-based or avian diurnal predators will hunt during the day mostly, rather than at sunrise or sunset. Snakes will wait till it gets warmer, and they'll spend... Often you encounter more of them around sunset, just because they've had the day to warm up and gather energy. So it's a difficult one. I can smell the carcass. I can't even see the carcass, but I can smell it. Not a horrible smell. It's still fresh. And Tanis, in Canada, you want to know if there is more noise during the day or at night. Sure. Depends if it's summer or winter. Because in summer, you've got the frogs, the cicadas, the various crickets that are all calling, the nocturnal bird species are calling. I'd actually... I don't know. Dave, what's noisier, day or night? I think nighttime too, but I don't know whether if that's because everything else is more silent. Does that make sense? No, Dave's just looking at me like I'm completely bonkers.
I would say nighttime.
You'd say nighttime. I think nighttime as well. With all those frogs that are calling at the moment in summer. In winter, it's probably daytime, just because the dawn chorus will outdo the nocturnal creatures that are singing away. And of course, you've also got more human movement during the day, but we won't count that. Let's pretend you were out in the middle of the African bush with just your tent. Then it would be nighttime, that would be noisier. Provided you're next to a waterhole. I feel like the frogs add a good few decibels to our nightly noises. I remember once, many years ago, when I was training to be a guide, there was lots and lots of rain, and my room was positioned out next to a waterhole. And the water level kept getting higher and higher and higher. And apart from the serious concern that all of my stuff was about to be underwater, there was the fact that it was almost deafening from the number of frogs that were gathered. I mean, the water was about a meter away from my doorstep when it stopped. And it was, the noise of those frogs was absolutely astounding. It was back when we had normal weather patterns. And all of the storms happened at night, all the rain happened at night. It wasn't this bizarre 2 years that we've had now. Here we go. That looks like Hosanna. Sorry, everybody, I'm just listening for a second. Sorry, there's wild dogs on Cheetah Plains, but they're right on the boundary. Hey, big boy. Lou says she's right. So where's Shongile? Let's just check that they're not yet, but once Hosanna makes his way out, let's just check that there isn't another leopard in there still chewing. Just in case, Lou. Just in case. I think she might have been right, though. I do too. I do think so. I think we might have lost that bet, Dave. And there goes Hosanna sauntering along. And flop. Look how big your teeth have got. Looking so perfect and white. Sorry, I'm laughing. Karula just yawned and there were gasps of joy from the guests in the vehicle next to us. Okay, she's going to come down. Where's your girl? I'm sorry, everybody. I'm distracted by the conversations that are happening on the Game Drive comms. I'm going to try and work out exactly what is happening there. So while I do some listening and some racking of the brains and look for Shongile, let's go over to Taylor, find out where she is.
Jamie, we're just doing a bit of a bumble at the moment, but we've come across something that has definitely caught my attention. Look at this massive highway in the very, very long grass. I'm actually going to jump out just to show you. Now, we often talk about, and when I've showed you many, many times, the various highways and network systems that the animals make, from a hippo pathway to a pathway that the ants have created. But here is a very prominent one. Have a look at it. I'll walk backwards. But look how cool this is. This is amazing. In this long grass, and you can't see it very well over here. I think this is from the hippos as to why it's so wide. Is if I look very, very carefully, it's clear. There's just soil on either side where my feet are, and in the middle there's still a clear, very, very short section of grass, and that's the hippos with their big bodies and their feet moving very much like that. And they leave, often wait till we get to winter again, that's going to be exciting. When all the grass starts to go away, you'll very, very clearly see that thin line of vegetation that goes through a pathway of a hippo. And it almost looks like a bit like a train track, which I think is lovely. But this is a well-used pathway. So for elephants, for hippos, there might probably some good grazing in here, and that's why they might be using it so often. Or it could just be a direct route to come from Chitwa, and you can see it continues on that side. That's actually a nice spot to walk. One day I will come and I shall walk on this animal pathway. You see it going in there? It continues. It actually looks like it's going directly in the direction of Chitwa. Right, let's carry on along here. I'm not sure what else we're going to find. I really, really would love to see a herd of buffalo this afternoon before the sun goes down. That would be the cherry on top for this afternoon's game drive, or a big elephant bull. Maybe a big elephant bull too would be nice, but I'm not sure if we're going to get lucky or not. There are plenty of hyena tracks going up and down this road, so they were quite busy here this afternoon. Right, let's go around the corner. Maybe our piglets will be around. Oh, hang on. There's an African hoopoe. Don't fly, because it is so beautiful in that light. You see, he's just walking on the road. Hello, African hoopoe. We've been seeing a lot of them around at the moment. They've been giving us spectacular sightings. Moving very quick. Head always moving around. They almost look like they've had a bit too much caffeine, the African hoopoes. They don't stop jittering. Head banging, probing the ground, looking for something to eat, looking around for predators. And they've got quite an erratic sort of pace on them as well. Look at it go through all the not Nyala dung, that is Impala dung that it is passing through. Come on, catch a little grub for us. A good spot to dig for grubs or beetles, because you know that dung beetles take care of all of this dung and they take it underground for them. So if you probe deep enough, it might be lucky and hit a little ball that contains the grub of a dung beetle or anything else that's feeding on the dung. Even termites would be around here. But going about, it's very, very busy afternoon. And it seems like just the one African hoopoe. I haven't seen any more around here. Isn't that beautiful? Yes, one last look at the camera and I think it's going to fly away. Very cool. Let's keep an... Oh, hang on. Look who we've got around the corner. We've got Impala and wildebeest. A wildebeest. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Bachelor herd and one wildebeest. No warthogs. This is our warthog's favorite spot. It's pity. Perhaps they've already gone back to bed. Good evening, boys. What are you doing with your day? What have you done today? Avoiding being eaten? I'm sure that's probably one of the things on the agenda of all the animals that live out here, is to not get eaten. But that is an impressive impala. The two of them have got a lovely set of horns on them. Really, really lovely to see. And I'm sure that they are gearing up, eating as much as they can, getting for the rut, ready for the rut, which is just around the corner. There's some younger boys, not as impressive horns, and you can actually see they're a little bit more slight, haven't quite got the same muscle tone as our two big boys that we just had a look at. But they'll get there. They've got a bit of growing to do. Maybe they'll be in luck this year and find a herd of females for themselves. They might have to take up some areas though, some territories that are unfavorable, maybe not the best grazing or no permanent watering holes, but you've got to start somewhere. And well, Mr. Wildebeest, you're quite lucky, aren't you? It's just you here, hanging around with the Impala boys who are no threat to you. And he's got a lovely spot. He's got good grazing. He's got lots of shelter. And he has a little mud wallow too, which is sufficient water. He's just listening. And look at the size of him. Look at all that power on his neck and in his shoulders. He is really, really muscled up. He's a good-looking wildebeest. And those lovely brindled stripes that he's got too. Yes, handsome, we are talking about you. I'm quite fond of the wildebeest. We're going to keep on searching, though, for whatever decides to pop out in the road next, which will be quite exciting. Jamie's only able to have one last look at the leopard, so let's go back across to her.
There are lots and lots of people that would like to come and enjoy the company of these beautiful leopards. So we've been here the longest in the sighting. We're going to make space for Andrew from Cheetah Plains. I just wanted to give you one last view of Hosanna. Karula's gone in to feed off the kill, so I'm glad to see that she's gone in to feed and not just letting her offspring scoff at all. Now, hopefully she manages to keep this kill for the rest of the evening. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. There's so many hyenas around here. Hopefully she manages to keep it safe. It's a good spot that they found, tucked in deep underneath the peltiforum, so they might not find it. Oh, Jason, you wanted to know how often they get their kill stolen. It's such a complicated question to answer, Jason, because it's so dependent on a couple of factors. It depends on how many hyenas there are in the area at the time. I would say on average you'll probably find that around about 50% of their kills are stolen, if it is a female leopard. If it is a male leopard hyena, one hyena might be slightly reluctant to take him on, Look, hyenas will outmatch leopards any day of the week, but a big male leopard can give as good as he gets, and he's not far off the weight of a hyena. So, and they're also strong enough to hoist their kills generally. So they've got a wider variety of prey species that they can take up into the tree. So they probably have a slightly higher success rate in terms of keeping their kills. The female's a slightly lower one. But when the hyenas left Djuma, Karula kept almost every kill she made. So much so that she even had 2 kills once. One was a dacre she put in a jackalberry tree, the other was an impala. And she kind of ended up eating both. It just took her a while to get through the impala, and then she went on to the dacre. And the dacre was in a jackalberry tree, but it was knocked out of the jackalberry tree by scavenging birds. So it was on the ground for a good 24 hours, and she managed to keep it. So it doesn't always happen that the hyenas find it. Now, Lucas, you want to know what is the biggest animal that a leopard can hunt. Again, it depends upon the size of the leopard. A female is quite small. A female's around about 40 kilograms, maybe a little bit more, maybe up to 50 kilograms for the larger females. So you're looking at an adult impala and maybe a young kudu being the smallest prey that they can take down. For an adult male leopard, it is slightly different. That will be something like a young buffalo, potentially unusual, but it can happen, and also a baby giraffe. Sorry everybody, I just need to chat on the Game Drive comms. Tax, you don't have to move out. I'll pull out for you, for Andrew. Okay, copy, thanks. If you're certain, otherwise I'm happy to leave. Alright, we're just going to sit here and converse a little more with the various guides and play musical sighting. And while we do, let's go over to Brent and find out how his stroll is going.
Well, it's now turned into a lovely evening stroll. Soft light, and I mean, we found the leopards, found the lions yesterday. So we've decided to just take in the atmosphere of the African bush. The smells, the sounds, well, the slightly irritating sound of a rattling testicular looking for a mate. But beautiful light coming through. So we've decided I'm going to draw a spot in the sand now. And this is my spot. There we go. And from this mark, I'm not allowed more than... How far, Brian?
2 meters.
That's... Brian, okay. That is a serious challenge. Okay, 5 interesting things within 2 meters. So let me just get my 2 meters. So I have to find you 5 interesting things in this circumference. I thought you were at least going to give me 10, Brian. Okay, and most of it is road, so I'm going to have to deal with that. Okay, wow, Brian laying down the gauntlet today. Ha ha ha. Hasana's track. So this is the area where we started tracking them in this morning. But there we go, that's one, that's interesting. That's Hasana, that's a little male leopard. My goodness, Brian, what are you doing to me? Well, that is a challenge. What about things I can see from outside my 2 meters? Acceptable. There's one of our migrating butterfly species, the brown-veined white, fluttering about there, looking for a place to roost. Oh dear. Well, this is good. This is good. It's good. Everything can't be easy. Okay, what have we got? I was hoping... Ooh, here we go. Oh, okay. Have a look there, Brian. Perfectly camouflaged. There's a couple of little grasshoppers that are on the dry leaves, showing that perfect camouflage. And if a bird happened to wander past like a francolin, I definitely wouldn't spot it. There's one there. Oh, they both went. Other one's just landed there. You can just see him, his head sticking up. It was quite an explosive jump, those two. So one of the little grasshoppers. Ooh. 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 There is some fungi. Now this is one of these, I'm not sure the species, but they're...
It's a stone plant.
A stone plant?
Yeah.
You know, it's a stone plant. Where did you learn that, Brian?
One of the varieties of stone plant, yeah.
It's a fungi.
Yeah, I think so.
So I know these as they sort of explode pores out. So a fungi. So there we go, a stone plant. Well, thank you, Brian. You learn something new every day.
Might be very wrong.
Might be very wrong. Well, it's definitely a fungus. There are quite a few of them. There's a different looking one there. That one's quite hard. Oh, and there's a two. There's that stone plant and a little toadstool coming out as well. See, well, you've limited us, Brian, but we've found now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can always just head off on some Eragrostis. Some love grass. Here we go. Saw-edged love grass, if I remember correctly. Now, that reminds me of a good story. Well, at this time of the day, you normally start sitting around the fire and telling stories, so that's what I'm going to do. So, Eragrostis reminds me about a story from the Greater Kruger. And it's all about one species of grass, which is related to this one. It's called Eragrostis cavella. And it's got curly leaves, which this one doesn't, so they curl. I can't make it a cavella. But it's a very important plant for certain animal species out here, namely sable and roan. And about 80% of a sable's diet consists exclusively of this one species of grass in South Africa. And it always amazes me how conservation outlooks have changed over the years. And initially, when the Kruger was first being heavily developed in the 60s and 70s, many, many water holes were made in the driest areas of the Kruger. And these areas used to have decent numbers of sable and roan. Now, there are almost no roan and very few sable in this day and age, and it's because of those water holes. So, sable are one of the few antelope species that like long grasses. They don't like short, well-grazed grasses, whereas most species like that roan as well. So what happened is, with these water holes now being built in the driest areas of the Kruger, it enabled animals like buffalo and rhino and zebra, who would have utilized these areas during the wet season. So they would have come in while it was wet, they would have drunk out of the pans, they would have fed, and then they would have left and gone towards the river systems and permanent water during the dry season. But because there was pumped water there now, it meant that those animal species never left. And so it basically outcompeted the sable, the roan, and interestingly, a carnivore as well, the brown hyena. Now, the brown hyena was outcompeted by the spotted hyena, who are far more water dependent. So, when those water holes got put in, the spotted hyena could stay in places they would never normally be able to stay for the full year. And it ended up in the brown hyena population of the Kruger crashing. And I know there's been one brown hyena seen on Djuma. Rexton's nodding his head. And did you see it, Rex? Yeah, Rexy saw it. When was that? 2004, somewhere around there. So there is always a possibility. It's really unlikely because of all the water holes and pump pans here and the high level of spotted hyenas that you're going to see brown hyena. Now, not very far from here, where my parents live, we see brown hyena quite regularly. And I actually know of 3 different brown hyena dens. But there we go. So it's amazing. You can change one little thing in an ecosystem, like the grazers keeping a certain grass species short, and it can affect a multitude of species. That's why we shouldn't be gardeners in Eden. Am I allowed out of my 2-meter circle, Brian? Okay. If only to show you this beautiful sunset. So Roger's wondering, are the grasses species that the buffalo like doing well at Djuma at the moment? Well, yes and no. Their favorite grass is Thermida, and there isn't that much Thermida grassland in Djuma. But this area will probably be very important winter graze. So during the dry season, while they're focusing on the Thermida grasslands and the basalts at the moment, but the panicums and Eragrostis and other grass species around here will be very important during the dry season to them. So yes, Roger, indeed, they are doing quite well. Always look on these centers for hohos. Not today, it seems. I can't see any feeding sign of caterpillars. Now, well, there we go. This is the one I was looking for. This is one of the favorite grazing species, the Panicum maximum. And they can actually grow into really, really thick stands that you don't really want to be putting your head in case there's a buffalo hiding inside. But while I chew on my sweet Panicum, lovely, let's go back to Taylor and a gorgeous setting.
Brent, it seems as though we've got a lot in common this afternoon. From one sunset to another, maybe we should see. I hope all of you took a couple of screenshots of the sunset that Brent showed you, and perhaps you can compare the two, the different views. You can hashtag safariLIVE with those screenshots. Craig, there's a beautiful silhouette of a hornbill. I think it's a hornbill. I don't know if you can see it. Just trying to look on the monitor. Oh no, it's a little bit difficult for you. So what we were actually wanting to do, I'm sorry, this hornbill's not, it's sitting in the darkness, I don't think you'll see it very well, is we want to go and get another view from the top of Quarantine. Should we go do that very quickly? I think so. And then hopefully we'll find a nice spot. Maybe tonight is the night that I get to see my impala leaping against the with the backdrop being, of course, the African sun. Who knows? I'll be so excited if we can do that, because that is on my list of things to see for 2017. Can't believe that we're already in March. Can you believe that this year is flying past? But that happens when you work out in the bush as well, is that we don't have any real idea of time. It just blows past us. One day merges into another. Before you know it, you just had dinner and then you wake up and it's the sunrise safari. It's crazy. Oh, this is nice. Let's do different views. Let me go back just a little bit. This is a little bit clearer now. You can see not so much interference with all of the trees. And we'll work our way up to Quarantine just by watching the sunset. But we actually have to be quick because I think it's about to go behind quite a few clouds. Isn't that lovely? And those clouds that are just above the sun as well, once that drops behind the horizon, that is going to be absolutely stunning. I'm sure we're going to see lots of different colors of pinks and purples and mauves. Now we've got a bit of orange, but you can see that it's slowly starting to turn that sort of pinkish color. Lovely. Right, next one. Let's see what the next view is going to look like. I think this time we'll have to try and incorporate a dead tree or a marula tree if there's anything about. We'll do the typical African postcard. Actually, I suppose then we need an umbrella thorn, because that seems to be the tree that is in all the iconic sunset photos. We're gonna be quick. Okay, I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm going to go very quickly. We have to slow down for the bumps, otherwise I lose Craig. We don't want to lose Craig. And fast again. And you know, I'm so funny when I can't say things like that. I meant to say that when I say that I'm speeding off, I'm only going about 30 kilometers an hour. That's me racing off into the distance. Okay. Let's go around the corner. I think we'll get a chance here. We're basically near the Bushbrass site of the open area of Quarantine, and this is going to be lovely with all these marula trees. Oh, it's disappearing quickly. We're going to have to stop right here. I'm going to have to go back a bit. There we go. Now you can see it above the trees. Isn't this nice with all the marulas, more marula trees around here? using some natural framing again, branches at the top. Oh, that's lovely, Craig. That is absolutely beautiful. You'll have to make a collage this evening of your favorite sunset and sunrise shots, because I'm sure most of you have been watching for a couple of years now, and if you have just started watching us, it's a good idea. So I forgot my foot on the brake. That was me, my apologies. Is that you take a lot of screenshots, and I know you save them all. So why don't you do that? You've got about an hour left of the show. Why don't you see if you can put together a sunset or a sunrise collage of your favorite shots? So pop them on Twitter and then add the hashtag safariLIVE so that we can all have a look. And hopefully you'll use a couple from tonight. And I think we're not going to go all the way down this most southern road on the open plain. I think we'll take the middle road where it's a little bit higher up. Okay, I have an idea. There's one tree that has fallen, well, there's one fallen over marula. Remember where the scorpions with the babies, and she had her babies on her back, she used to live? It's just over there. But there's another marula that's dead, but it's still standing upright. The elephants haven't quite pushed that one over yet. There's always a yet. So maybe let's see if we can do a silhouette here. I don't know how well it's going to work, but we can only just try. It's a perfect tree too. I think we could get lucky. Craig, what do you think? Are we going to manage a silhouette here? Craig does the funniest sounds. When he answers me, he sounds like a blesbok, which is one of my favorite antelope, when he goes, nyeh, or a baby impala. There we go. A little bit of a silhouette of that dead tree, that dead marula I was telling you about. It's still a bit light, and we're also not low enough down on the ground to create that, of course, that silhouetted effect. Isn't that lovely? Now all we need is a leopard, or even better, a troop of baboons sitting on those branches. How wonderful would that be? And now a sighting that's actually just popped into my head that I remembered that I'm craving is to have another sighting, a silhouetted southern ground hornbill against the African sky would be quite lovely too. I'm actually going to just sit quietly for a moment. The guinea fowls have just started calling. This is really, really lovely. So crank up your volume. That's beautiful, isn't it? And we, at one point, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we had quite a few questions coming through about what is your favorite sound in Africa. And I'd said hippos and hyenas calling sort of at night or at dusk. And I think the iconic helmeted guinea fowl that call, and then also those with the white little spots and their bright blue heads and red wattles is a lovely, lovely sort of package to go with the African sunset as well. Even having them sitting up in that tree roosting would have been absolutely beautiful. I've got some very sad news for all of you. My dreams of the impala dancing in front of the African sky is not going to happen this evening. There seem to be no impala around. I think that they're all at the dam. We'll go and have a scratch around there. I'm not sure what Jamie's up to. I know that she's left the leopards. Where she's heading to next, I'm not sure. The only way to find out is if we go back and say hello to her.
We are on our way to the lions in the hope that we can experience one of the best evening sounds that the bush has to offer. And that, of course, is a male lion roaring. Even better than one male lion is two male lions roaring. And lo and behold, they're still exactly where we left them. Phew! I didn't really expect otherwise. So that's what our plans are for the evening. I agree with Taylor. I'd like to add one more sound to the list of favorites of the African bush at night, and that is blackback jackals. A chorus of blackback jackals is one of the most gorgeous sounds you can hear out here. And unfortunately, it's not a sound that we hear all that frequently. I've heard them once or twice in the time that I've been on Djuma, but other than that, not all that regularly. I think I'm going to go around these lions so that I was going to park there, but I think we're going to block their way to have a drink if they want to. So let's not do that. Let's go and plonk ourselves over here instead. No, let's just wait and see. Let's settle here for now and wait and see if they decide to shift around. Hey, boys? No, definitely not their best view. Not their best side. Okay, well, we might change around. We've got plenty of time. We've still got another 45, oh goodness, we've still got another 45 minutes with them. And we're definitely going to sit this one out and wait patiently for them to start roaring away, which I'm really hoping they will do. Apparently there's one other Birmingham boy, potentially Birmingham boy, it's probably a Birmingham boy, on Buffelshoek with a female, with a lioness. And probably is one of the Nkuhuma females with a Birmingham boy. And probably, most likely, one of our missing two, the Amber Eyes and that young female. So again, presumably either coming back into estrus or already in estrus. Well, I don't think there was any great rush. Just an update. Remember how I told you there were wild dogs in Cheetah Plains? I've been listening to the radio just to make sure that we're not missing a vital opportunity. But it sounds as though those wild dogs are kind of dashing backwards and forwards over the boundary. So we'll have to, fingers crossed, we can try again tomorrow. Perhaps they will come and join us here, somewhere where there's less boundaries for them to disappear over. And by boundaries, what I mean for our new viewers is all lodges have different traverse agreements. In other words, they can drive in different places. So there's some places we can drive that others can't, and some places that others can drive that we can't. I'm just going to take the opportunity to have several sips of water. I forgot to do that this afternoon, and it's quite warm. It's lovely to see our Birmingham boys again. Brent tells me when he was driving around this morning, he kind of solved the mystery of where they came from. It was as I suspected, that they came from the eastern side of the reserve, which means they walked really, really far last night if they came through that way. They must have gone from Dixie Koppies, which is in the far western corner of, sort of southwesternish corner of Manileti, gone all the way to the east, and then down through Buffelshoek and into Djuma, and then through Djuma to here. I would guess and say that's about a distance of 20 miles, maybe even more. Nice to just sit and listen to the sounds of the evening. Birds we can hear. While we wait for our male lions to stir themselves and hopefully give us a demonstration of their roaring ability, you want a little bit more detail as to all the different types of lion roars, and sorry, let me turn that down, and different, roaring at different times of the day, what does it mean, and so on. Essentially, there's two reasons behind a lion's roar. And whether or not we can tell the difference between the different types of roar, I don't think so. All roars essentially sound the same, and they can happen at any time of the day, especially if it's cold and rainy. It's unlikely to happen in the middle of the day, but they'll roar in the evening and they'll roar throughout the night and then into the morning. There's two purposes. One is to alert the other lions in the area that they are there in a territorial way. And that applies to both males and females, but of course the males will be more rigorous about their roaring schedule because they are really essentially more territorial, and they will fight to keep other males out. Whereas lion prides roar to kind of avoid each other, let each other know that they are there, and make sure that they can dodge away and not come into conflict with each other. And when they do, which is quite seldom, they can have a bit of a fight and then go off in their separate ways. They won't continuously fight in the way that male lions do. And then the other purpose of lion roars is, you know, I don't know why this image popped into my head, but the beacons, was it the beacons of Gondor that were lit? Now I'm looking at Dave. Dave looks utterly perplexed. It was the beacons of Gondor. It was the beacons of Gondor. That's kind of what I picture when male lions roar in different places. So you've got a coalition that, let's say, all 4 of them were spread out in different directions, and I apologize for the sort of really nerdy Lord of the Rings reference. But if you can imagine it, one starts roaring there, and then the other starts roaring there, and then the other starts roaring there, and the other starts roaring over there, and they're kind of communicating with each other, and it's like lighting the beacons to let each other know where they are. So it's not necessarily just about letting other lions know, although that is the main purpose of their roaring. It's also to let each other know, hey guys, I'm here. And you can sort of hear the difference I find with the Birmingham boys. I sometimes feel as though, especially when you find one of them on their own, they kind of start quite mournfully, softly, like, guys, where are you? And I've seen Tino and Mfumo do it before, where they sit miserably on their own and then start to roar quite softly, and then gets louder and louder and louder when they hear the others respond. So I sort of imagine when I hear, which maybe I should have kept quiet and in my own head, it might have you questioning my sanity, I sort of imagine different beacons being lit whenever lions roar. Let's reposition. This bottom view just will not do. Vic, just you want to know if there's any news about the Matimbas. Not that I've heard in the last 2 days. Last time I heard they were seen back quite far north into the Manyeleti. Beyond that, I haven't heard any further news on our... We have a mobile group that all of us guides in the area were able to keep track of the movements of the lions. And, you know, provided it's updated. Have a tree, Dave. Sorry. And I haven't seen any updates on the Matimbas from the Manyeleti guides. But that they were, last time I heard about them, they were on right up near the sort of northern boundary of Manyeleti, so quite far in, moving away from the Birmingham boys. They did come onto Djuma. Tristan found them on the main access road. Can't really, I think we're just going to have to go there. It's not going to be a good view from around the back there. But Tristan saw them after drive one evening, and they started roaring on Vuyatela main access, and then they scarbered as soon as the Birmingham boys heard them. As it starts to get dark, I'm sure Brent is going to be thinking about heading for home. Let's head across to him to find out if that is the plan.
Well, it is the plan, but before we head home, I know you've been talking about the best sounds, and we just had a discussion, Brian, Rex and myself, and you can't leave off a lion. You can't. It's just that. Oh, I love it. But yes, I think mine, but there's so many wonderful sounds in the African bush. Fiery neck nightjar. What else, Brian? What was it? Woodland? No. I've got that evil one that lives outside my room. It goes chit-char at 1 o'clock in the morning, making me think I'm late for work. No, woodland. Maybe when that woodland goes away, I'll miss it for the winter. But during the summer, not so much. I think definitely one of my favorites is the Varro's eagle owl. Especially when it's like misty in the morning. Very, very nice sound. Pearl spotted owl. That's always a good one. And actually, definitely one of my favorites, the little Scops owl. But all these things I'm talking about seem to come out at night, and that's not when we want to be on bushwalk. So we're going to head off now back home. There's lions just over there. There's leopards to the right. So I think it's time we make for the safety of camp and go regale ourselves around. Oh no, it's too hot for a fire, but definitely around a nice ice cold glass of water. So while we head home, let's go see what Madam McCurdy is up to.
Now, we still bumbling around. We actually just passed the dam in front of Vuyatela Lodge. Had a quick look around there. Our usual suspects of Inyala and Impala and one wildebeest lurking around there. But I haven't driven Mvubu Road for quite some time. And today we've actually almost driven all the roads just on Djuma. Can you believe that? I think by the time the show finished, we would have done about 70% of the roads, just weaving up and down all of them. And that's the thing about going on safari, is that when you drive around, you drive a lot more than you are actually seeing things, but that surprise that one day you're just going to change it up slightly and you're going to drive one road that you haven't driven in a long time and something is going to pop out and surprise you. That's what I try and think about every single night. Right, I think we need a little bit of light here. Do we need light? No, it's still too dark for us. Not too dark, it's still too light for a spotlight. My little lights are not really making much of an impact. Oh, Craig, let's go down here. Right, let's do 4x4. Goodness, is that? And down we go. Now this area is actually a fire we're about to onto, and I'm going to take this because it's very eroded. This is probably this is the steepest incline we have here. I could beat them off with. Oh, there's a big little, not a big little, a big rut in the road. But what happens is, when the roads are wet like this, as we've shown you many times, is that you get all the rain coming through, it causes all the erosion. But then also if you come driving through in a vehicle, some of this soil is very soft and you can sort of just sink into it. And if you don't engage your 4x4, then what happens is that you end up spinning when the mud is wet. And you create these massive ruts in. My goodness, and I've got stuck in a terrible rut before where it was so deep I was driving and the whole vehicle just sunk, and well, we fell into these ruts, because when you're driving on mud you don't have too much control, and I knew those ruts were deep, so I was trying to stay out of them. Anyway, I ended up sliding into them and getting completely wedged on the chassis of the vehicle. So we're sitting there. This is actually quite a funny story. So now I'm stuck, and it's about this time as well with my guests going, oh my goodness, now how do I get hold of someone? I was on my way to a lion sighting, and the lions were probably about a 3-minute walk from where we were, but they were sitting down. So I'd said to one of the guys, okay, I'm stuck, does anybody have a tow rope or a chain? Can they come and help me? Yeah, sure. Someone was on their way. And as we were sitting waiting, a couple of my guests said, can I use the luxury facilities? I said, sure, no problem. Pick a tree, but relatively close by. They jumped back in. And during this whole time, I'd missed on the radio, because I also hopped out of the vehicle just to stretch my legs and see how wedged in we were, and see if we could put any rocks under the tires. I'd missed that the guides had said the lions are up and are moving towards us, and we were in a drainage line. And eventually I heard that they're quite close to me. They can hear people talking. There's somebody else in the sighting with them, and it was us. Now we're wedged in. And it was so funny. So we hadn't had this amazing sightings of the lions walking around us. We couldn't follow them though. I'm sure they had a good chuckle. But eventually, in the middle of the pitch black darkness, we got towed out. We made it out alive. And it was such an... Right, let me try this again. It was such an exciting experience for all of my guests. Hold on, Craig. This is also a bumpy one. Whee! Down we go again, into another little dip. And I'm actually lucky we have got a nice short wheel-based vehicle. And something I don't miss about driving the big vehicles that we drive when we're with guests is because they're quite long. They've got the extra row of seats added on. So going through these little dips and drainage lines and gullies is quite tricky. And you end up banging the back quite a bit. So I don't miss doing that. I really wish I had a vehicle like this when I was still guiding. It would have made it a lot of fun, and I reckon I would have had some spectacular sightings getting into spots where no others could go, though it would be limited to how many people could come on safari with me. It would have to just be a two-man private safari, which would be many takers out there. Well, we had lots of takers of guests booking out entire vehicles for themselves. Light lights on. Let's try this again. No. Oh. Oh my goodness, I got a fright of my life. So we're in Jigger, and in Rusty and Wendy, the hooter doesn't work anymore. They've just disengaged it, and it is so weird. I was fiddling with the lights, trying to see if I could get it brighter, and then I just pressed the little button accidentally, because you know I can't help myself, and if I see something that can be pressed or pulled or turned, I'll have to do it. And yes, I pressed that. So that was the hooter. Luckily I wasn't in a sighting. Hey, that would have been that would have been exceptionally interesting. Well, it's woken me up now, and I wonder if any of you are sitting with your volume up really, really loudly and also jumped at the screen when I did that. But thank you, Jigger, for having a very delicate little hooter. The things that happen when you're out on safari, right? Okay, let's see if the spotlight, if it's gonna work. Yeah, not too bad. It helps us. It'll be perfect for, well, all the closer trees. Actually, look what's happening here. Have a look at this bush willow. Can you see how the termites have taken over the stem? You can see it's got a little bit of a covering of soil on it. And this tree, unfortunately, won't live for too much longer. It looks like some of it is dying, and that's what they're feasting upon. But this won't be the big termites. These are not going to be the macrotermes. These will be the little microtermes that we often see. They make their mounds underneath the ground, and then just occasionally we see them just at the entrance of their one of their tunnels working away. But let's see, this is a good time for the termites to get active, and I noticed it. I actually first spotted it on the left-hand side of the road, and then I looked to the right and noticed the same thing. So this entire area that we're sitting on top right now, there must be a whole colony of termites just underneath us working really, really hard. And actually, if you have a look on the road, can you see that there's all these little, I've illuminated one for you, but there's all these little chimneys coming out of the ground. See that? That's from termites too. They make these little tunnels that pop out of the grounds at night. Not massive entrances, but like I said, those are the little microtermes that are working hard and along here. I always feel sorry for termites when they make those temporary structures on the roads, because, well, they get driven over. But I suppose even on an animal pathway, if they were to do something like that, the elephants or a hippo or buffalo, not really watching where they step, and will squash them too. But they're not so important. It's not a permanent structure. For instance, like this big termite mound over here, those little entrances that we saw are really just for, you can see, no little insects and solifuges running around just yet, but those temporary structures are there just so that if they need to, they can work during the day, because remember, they've got a very, very sensitive exoskeleton. But this is a big one. This is a developing termite mound still. Maybe that will be our goal, seeing as though we didn't have any luck with the impala silhouetted against the sky. We didn't have any luck with an elephant or a buffalo. Perhaps we'll have to simplify our search this evening, and maybe we'll just try and find an active termite mound. How does that sound? Maybe not as exciting to all of you, but I'm very thrilled, because you never know what you'll find at a termite mound. I've seen many civets, many genets. Did you get eaten by insects there, Craig? Went through this sort of tornado of midges, and they're all sitting on my hat now. And luckily I didn't get any in my mouth this time. This might be the first safari that I don't eat an insect. But yes, but you can find lots and lots of things around a termite mound if you look hard enough. Solifuges, you see them around the mounds. I think just, okay, let's go down this road. And Louise has just mentioned in my ear that you have all sent through some very nice collages of your sunsets. Thank you for doing that, and hold on to them. And for the new viewers, that's what you've got to look forward to, is these memories, and make these beautiful collages of the leopards, of the lions, of all the different animals, of your favorite animals. It doesn't matter what it may be, but send them through. We always love to have a look back. Remember, we're on the safari, and we aren't really taking too many pictures. It's just every now and then. But especially of the sunsets and things like that, it's really nice to see. Wow, hang on. We might get lucky with an active mound. Look at this one. Look at this whole mound here. Now, this one's going to get so big that eventually it's going to bump underneath a vehicle, which makes me a little bit sad. And Hunter, you were wondering how important termites and their mounds are to the ecosystem. Exceptionally important. You know, I've heard it many, many times where people have said that if termites were to go extinct, the entire ecosystem would collapse shortly after. And I believe that that is true. They are so important for getting rid of excess moribunds, so old leaves, grasses, animal droppings, you name it. They're getting rid of all those things. They are a natural cleanup crew as well as carcasses. They also help with the decaying of carcasses. And if you were to lose that, I think that would be in a lot of trouble. The food source that termites are for various animals, for birds, for mammals. There are some animals that just strictly rely on feeding on termites and ants. So, for instance, aardvark, the anteater, what else they eat? Paladin, they feed on termites and lots of ants, and of course the aardwolf as well. They really do rely on them. I didn't see that this mound was active. I saw a couple of ants moving around on it, but I can't go off the road because the rest of the mound is actually just here, so we'll have to just go over the top of this one. Luckily, we're quite raised off of the ground that we don't skim the surface. Let's see what else we can find. We'll keep searching for termites, but just not in luck just yet. We'll get there. That shouldn't be a hard thing to find. Keep searching. Maybe we get a chameleon, it's nice and warm. And we're going to keep on searching around here. We'll have to get lucky with either a chameleon or hopefully some termites to have a look at. And we're going to go across now to Jamie, who's found herself back with the Birminghams.
Back with the Birminghams indeed, and we've done some shuffling around to try and get the best possible position that we can. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm just going to do some fiddling with the lights now. I've got my spotlight on him. I'm actually going to take it off, and I'm going to shift one of my side LED lights just so that the light is slightly more diffuse at this distance. So I don't really want to shine straight on him, but this light is a slightly softer light, and it'll help to illuminate the two lions without spotlighting, because we're quite close to them now. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. We can bounce the spotlight off the ground next to them, but rather than shining straight full on into his face, seeing as he's facing directly at us. There we go. Is that okay, Dave? Yeah. You happy with that for now? Well, Tino got up and yawned a few times. Not got up, lifted his head. Let's be more specific. Tino lifted his head and yawned a few times, and then promptly went back to sleep, which was disappointing because I was hoping he was going to give us a proper roar. Just a quick note for those of you that are new to these live safaris and telling apart the different Birmingham males is a bit tricky. Have a look at his right ear. He's got a missing tip. He's actually almost got a sort of a half moon out of the top of it. And that's how I identify him when I can't see his split lip. That's one of the first things that I look for when I've just got the back of his head. He's got a few fresh scars there as well now. A fresh nick around his nose. What have you boys been up to? Have you been fighting each other again? Or have you been fighting other males? I wish it were possible to know exactly what they get up to in the hours when we don't see them. Hunter, you want to know how far away lions can hear each other when they roar. Much further than we can hear them. And we can hear them at around about 5 kilometers, maybe even 10 kilometers on a cool morning. You'll probably find that these boys can communicate with each other to up to 20 kilometers away. Please do your mile conversions. If you work in the imperial system, I'm useless with miles. There's something about I can do the feet, I can do the inches. Yards, roughly approximate, but don't ask me about miles. You might even find that they can hear even further. Our cold On a cold morning, that sound travels even further. Okay. I'm just turning my game drive radio down a little bit. I'm just hearing all about a frantic wild dog chase that I can't go to. So I'm just going to turn it down completely. And for our viewers who have just joined us, please send through your question on hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter. Andreen, you say that they are going to wait until the last minute of drive to roar. I hear you. That's exactly what they're going to do. If we're lucky, Andreen, they might decide they just want to sleep all evening. And since we're going to plan on being out here until they do actually do something, so that we can do some stuff with the VR rig, I hear you. Please, boys, if you wouldn't mind doing something sort of a little sooner rather than later, so that Dave, myself, and Sam, who's on the back of the vehicle, can have some dinner, that would be wonderful. They don't look too keen on doing anything, do they? They could not look more relaxed if they tried. What shall we talk about now, Dave, with our sleepy lions? I feel as though we've covered a relatively large... Well, I suppose some of it was... I didn't go to the Nkuhumas just because I feel as though they're still going to be in that very, very thick thicket of tambuti trees. I don't think they're going to pop out there. They seem to be determined at the moment to move from one thicket to another and then just stop there and spend 2 or so days. Well, they've spent 2 days in that thicket, so hopefully tonight they'll come back out onto Djuma and out into the open. Dave, shall we look at the moon? Let's look at the moon. Our lines are quite flat. Watch, they'll roar now. Be so funny. As we turn around to look at the moon, they're going to start to roar. There is the moon. Isn't it beautiful, Dave? Cheshire Cat grin. Oh, wow. And while we look at the distant moon and the lions slumber next to us, Samuel, really lovely to hear your name. Samuel, I don't think I've answered a question from you before, so welcome, presumably, as a newer viewer to these live safaris. Samuel, you say, are our lions not afraid of our vehicle? They don't seem to move or be too bothered. Samuel, the answer is no, they're not afraid of us at all. So wild lions that have never seen people in a vehicle before absolutely would be terrified of us. But through many decades of very ethical guiding and habituating of the animals, they've become used to the presence of safari vehicles around them. And for generations, these lions have been cubs when they first see a safari vehicle. They've learnt that we do not mean a threat to them. We aren't dangerous in any way. We're not going to drive on top of them or drive into them. So we treat them with respect, and in return, they allow us these moments spent in their presence. And that's something that we are very fortunate in this area to be allowed. The same goes for the leopards, the elephants, and actually all of the predators that are comfortable with us. That is something that we work very hard never to abuse. And it's important. It might sound like something that is unnecessary, but it is actually necessary, first of all, for us to do these live safaris and to actually show you a true, unedited reflection of these animals' behavior. And at the same time, tourists who come to visit the animals pay lots of money. That money then goes into the conservation, not just of that specific species, but this entire area as a whole. And that importance cannot be stressed enough. Because if these animals are valuable in tourist terms, it means they're less likely to be, this area is less likely to be taken over for farmland. The people of this area are more likely to protect them from poaching, and so on. So this level of habituation is also very, very important to their survival in the future. Not necessarily now, but in the next 10, 20, 50 years or so. All right, I think we might have to break out the spotlight just a little bit. I'll use my vehicle. Oh, I thought I heard a hyena. I got very excited. Roger, you want to know how close the Birmingham boys are to the Nkuhumas. Roughly, I know it's very difficult to get a sense of scale, they're roughly about 2.5 odd miles away, so they're actually quite far. Let me show you on a map exactly where everything is. Sorry, let me just turn on my screen rotation. That will help tremendously. Take that spotlight off while we do this. So we are at this blue dot over here on Twin Dams Road. Let me move my hat out of the way. So there we are, Twin Dams Road, and Chele Pan is just to the north of us. The hyena den is over here at this Philemon's Dip area, and in the Nkuhumas, there's our camp over there. Our Nkuhumas are all the way over here. Wait, let me try and put the pin in. They are here, place mark 3. So they are all the way there. And there's, give you an idea of a sense of scale of this area. There's the Djuma Dam where the dam camera is, and there is Twin Dams. And just to the south of us is our boundary. That's our southern boundary of Gowrie Main. Karula, to give you another perspective, is over here. So she's actually closer to these male lions than the Nkuhumas are. There is another Birmingham boy and a female over here at Tambuti Dam in Buffelshoek. So that's our northern boundary, unfortunately outside of our traverse area. So there you go. Whoopsie, made the map do something silly. Now, Deborah, you want to know, for what reasons do male lions fight amongst themselves? I'm trying to illuminate his face without shining on it. It's a little bit tricky. And Deborah, a couple of reasons. It's important to remember that lion lifestyle is not a polite one. They're not really very good manners. So all lions will fight each other for food. When it comes to mealtime, it's a sort of a free-fall, and it's absolutely chaos, and there's lots of growling. Although generally those aren't serious fights. The serious fights that will happen in amongst themselves will almost invariably be over a female. Sometimes they get into each other's space, and because they're male lions and because they run on testosterone and a sort of a natural level of aggression, they have to in order to keep their territory safe. Sometimes it just takes a nudge in the wrong place to set a male lion off, and they get very cross and there's a bit of a fight, and then it's all over and done. But when a female's in estrus, that's when the more serious fights happen between them. And even then, they generally pull their punches. They'll get a few scratches and nicks and cuts, but they won't, it's not as though they'll go in for the kill. They'll just establish their dominance over that female at that particular time. And we've seen them do it. It's totally different from a fight with another group of male lions. Now, I didn't quite hear what Taylor has for you, but I think we should head over to her and find out.
I don't make promises that I can't keep, so voila, here is a chameleon, a flap-necked chameleon, who does not seem to be too impressed by us and the lights. But chameleon, I'm actually doing you a favor by putting the lights near you, because it's going to attract insects, and then you can catch something. I don't know why they don't seem to be enjoying the light. I'm just going to take the spotlight off it so it's going to be a little bit darker. I've just got the LED lights on it. Now, I don't know if it's moving away from us because it's frightened, but it's unusual to have a chameleon sort of very slowly move off. But we'll just make sure that we're not going to put too much light on it. Look at that. Did you see how its tail wrapped around the branch as it takes a step? As to make sure that it's always got at least 4 appendages holding on in case it does take a tumble. See if I can turn these lights a little bit more. It's a bit better. But this is really cool. Now, even though this chameleon is moving very slowly in these staggered movements at the moment, And the reason why it does that is that so it doesn't make any sudden movements and then becomes spotted quite easily. But if it does those slow movements, it almost looks like a leaf with its camouflage blowing in the wind. However, Craig doesn't believe me, and I was trying to tell him earlier that when you see a chameleon darting across the road, you will not believe how quickly these creatures can move if they really, really want to. So they're not too slow. But up in the trees, they've obviously got the risk of falling out of the tree, so they do go a little bit slower than usual. Where are you going, chameleon? Coming back, thank you. Coming back to its original perch. And look at that lovely green that it is. Yeah, holding on, just making sure it holds on tight. Don't put your head that side, keep coming. Oh, that is so cool. Look how it wrapped its foot completely around that branch. I think I need to go. Now, see, this is a tough one. I don't know where to park now because this little guy's hiding its head behind those leaves. Come on, either go a little bit further forward or bring your head on the side of the branch, please. Now, Craig, have you spotted a butterfly or a moth or a cricket? Because I want to see this chameleon shooting that long tongue out of its mouth and catching some prey. That is something that I have never seen, and it is also on my wish list. Today I'm just telling you what my hopes and dreams are of sightings that I'd like to see. But they're pretty amazing. You are lovely. And it's very active out here tonight. There are a lot of birds around. There are lots and lots of insects. There are bats. You actually might be able to hear the bats. You have to turn your volume up though. A very high-pitched noise, that's the bats. And that chameleon is looking around it. Perhaps it's hearing everything that's going on at the moment, and that's why it's a little bit nervous, because it's quite exposed on that little perch. Now, Nolan, you've got a question for me. You're wondering if chameleons are mainly nocturnal. They are indeed, but it isn't uncommon to see a chameleon moving during the day. Look how it just disappears amongst that vegetation when Craig zooms out like that. So yes, they're typically a little bit more active at night, but if the same thing with lions, if there's an opportunity to feed during the day, they will. They're not going to say no to a juicy grasshopper. It looks like it's hiding from us. Look at that. It just pops its eyes out every now and then. It will eat whenever it can, but during the day they are slightly more vulnerable because that's when most of the birds are active. There aren't as many birds that are active at night that are nocturnal rather than the ones during the day. So you've got the different types of raptors, the lizard buzzards, you even get a yellow-billed kite feeding on something like this, a Wahlberg's eagle, right through to a drongo, even some of the shrikes around here, they would go for a chameleon. And the one that I think enjoys chameleons the most is the southern ground hornbills. I've seen southern ground hornbills eating more chameleons than anything else, but that's just, of course, just my experience. So there's more of a risk during the day if they were to move around then. Now, Hunter, this is a great question, and I'm actually glad that this chameleon's not doing this, but you're wondering if they've got any defense mechanisms, and one of the ways is actually by altering the chemicals in their body to change up the colors, the pigments that come off of a chameleon. So when a chameleon is very angry, it blows itself up. It sort of also blows its throat up, and it'll also open up its mouth, but its colors change from these beautiful greens and natural tones that help it blend in to tones that stand out. So reds and blacks, typically they go quite dark, almost black in color when they are angry. And this can be, you can imagine, quite a bit of a shock. What is it doing? I just think now it's poked its head out. I wonder if it's seen anything. Yeah, I wonder if it's zoning into something over there. I'm very curious about this chameleon. But you can imagine if it was a predator that was facing it off, say a snake, spotted a chameleon. Now imagine if this chameleon all of a sudden blew itself up and changed color, and it's quite a dramatic change as well. It can be very much intimidating and often just enough to give that animal a fright that it takes one or two steps back, and then it can quickly go back to its normal sort of camouflage color. It doesn't take too long for those pigments to change, and then it will disappear and down in the grass if it can, or even drop itself off a tree. I've watched, this is many, many years ago, so my recollection of the sighting could be a bit different, but I don't know, we're in the Kruger and we're watching a mamba, young black mamba. And this mamba was in the tree going around. We'd seen it, and then the mamba stopped. I don't know how old I was, maybe 13 years old. And eventually, we'd seen what this mamba was looking at. It was looking at a chameleon. So this mamba struck at the chameleon. The chameleon blew itself up, and the snake did get a little bit of a fright. I think because it was young, it wasn't used to it. Well, its defense mechanism was working well. And the next minute, this chameleon just dropped a branch, just a little bit, and you could see the snake had absolutely no idea where the chameleon had gone. And it's unusual. You saw how safe these creatures are. They hold on with 4 feet and use their tail as a 5th appendage too, to make sure that they don't go dangling and falling down. That's really cool. I want to go a little bit further forward. I want to have another look at this chameleon's face. Ooh. There we go. Let me get the spotlight again and just light it up just a little bit more. Mia, you're wondering if chameleons lose their tails like lizards do if they are potentially grabbed by something. Sadly not. I don't think I've ever seen a chameleon without a tail. They can't regrow their appendages like lizards do. But also, lizards have only got one opportunity. So they'll lose it once, but they can't lose it again. Oh, that's a thin branch at you, or a piece of grass that you're going on there, chameleon. Oh, a very delicate fall. I think it's best that you stay up on your perch. It's a good spot you've got there. Actually, this is interesting. This chameleon is not a fan of the spotlight. I wasn't sure, but now I'm 100% certain that that's what this chameleon is worried about. It's reaching for a piece of grass, so we're not going to put the spotlight on it. Because even something small like a chameleon, I really don't want to cause too much distress. So we'll keep these lighter LEDs on them. That's it's a broader light, and it's not just one concentrated strobe. Hello, beautiful. Look, he's struggling. My friend, you're a little bit too heavy to hold on to blades of grasses. You typically would see young chameleons hanging onto the edge of a piece of grass, but this is a relatively large chameleon. It's not particularly small. Now, Dominique, you're wondering if chameleons mate for life. I don't think so. I've never read about chameleons being monogamous, but that would be an impressive thing if you were able to, someone was able to work out if they were monogamous or not. So if they were to, if they were to mate for life, I don't think so. I think that they just go around, males will find females and mate with them, and then off they go. And they don't play a role in rearing the young either. I would love to leave this chameleon. I can see that it's a little bit upset, and I don't want to disturb it any longer than this. But thank you, chameleon. Thank you for being so wonderful. But I'll leave you with one last look of our beautiful friend, and I hope that it becomes more relaxed around the vehicles next time. Jamie's still with the lions. Let's go take another look.
I'm still with the lions, and I think one of their ears twitched once. It's been high action here, hasn't it, Dave? Yeah. High action, and apparently my high hopes for hearing a lion's roaring for the first time in ages might just be dashed. Come on, boys, you've got... How long have we got, Lou? 3 minutes. 3 minutes, gentlemen. Yes, no? 2 minutes and 29 seconds. It's even worse than I thought. Oh, we've got a stretch from Tino. And relaxed again. Dries? Oh, scrub hair. Scrub hair? Careful. Yeah, you better run. Snack for the lions. Dries, just quickly, no, I don't think there's a huge upturn in roaring when it comes to full moon. They're less active when it's full moon in terms of hunting, just because they can't really hunt as well because they don't have the same protection of darkness. But, or maybe, Dries, I haven't heard about them roaring more often when it's full moon, and I haven't seen them roaring more often when it's full moon. They roar more frequently when it has been raining. And that's because they know that all of their scent marks have been washed away. And as a result, there's a potential for unguarded territory. Other male lions can't smell them. So they roar just to make sure that, hey, everybody knows we're still here. Just because you can't smell us doesn't mean we're not still here. Same goes for leopards as well. You'll get more roaring after the rain as they start to move about, remarking their territory. 60 seconds, boys. We're cutting it a bit fine. You know. All right. Okay. Your point is duly taken. We cannot ask you to roar on command. You are completely wild animals. Next time, everybody. Hopefully they'll still be here in the morning. Maybe they will decide to roar for us in the morning. Who knows? But do join us because there will be exciting, as always, things planned on our sunrise safari. For now, a big thank you to Dave for his wonderful camera work. Thank you, Dave. You did an excellent job this afternoon. And thank you to Louise directing and Kirsty assisting her in final control. Most importantly, a big thank you to all of you for sending through your questions and your comments. Join us tomorrow. The wild dog might still be around. The lions might still be around. The leopards will still be around. We'll see you tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari. Bye-bye, everybody.